Good afternoon, everyone. And I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Welcome to the Flight Dispatcher Days 2026. This is the third time we are organizing this event here in EUROCONTROL, and we are very happy to see all of you together with us today. My name is Boris Radovanovic. I'm addressing you on behalf of the Flight Dispatcher Days team, and I would like quickly to provide you with some practical information that you would need over those 2 days with us in EUROCONTROL. The most important one is, of course, safety. So please be focused on the safety instructions that I will provide you now with the video. Thank you for your attention, and I hope that everybody is aware now what should be done in case of the emergency. In any case, please, if you have any questions, contact any of my colleagues from EUROCONTROL and follow their advice. I will quickly provide you a few information about the badges you have with you. We have 3 categories of the badges. One is for the speakers, one is for the participants, which is most of you, and one is from the EUROCONTRol colleagues in the room, and also many of them in the lobby stand. You already had the chance to see this morning, and likely to talk many of them already today. I will just use 1 second to introduce our 2 moderators that will help us with the sessions over 2 days. We have Mr. Chris Peregrine here with us in the room, and Mr. Andy Woolin, who will moderate the tomorrow session. In order to get out of the EUROCONTROL, whenever you are leaving, is it today, and we hope it is actually tomorrow, we are kindly ask you to leave the badges in the dedicated box outside, so we can reuse some of those for any future events we are organizing in our premises. To connect to the Wi-Fi, we kindly ask you to do, because this is going to be the main way of communicating with us, by accessing the information available through the QR code, which is also printed in your badges. I will just provide you a few practical details associated with this embedded QR code. So if you launch the application, you have 3 options available. Those 2 which are highlighted in blue will give you access to the hyperlinks where you will be able to see the information associated with the agenda, and also access to the special voting tool. We don't plan to use it today, but I will remind you tomorrow during certain sessions. We will kindly ask you to open this vote channel when requested. Just follow the hyperlinks, and if you want to go back to the main screen, just select the back button. When you access the agenda, you will have the information associated with the event, but also other details that you can download from our webpage, including the booklet we prepared for all the participants, list of the participants, and also practical guide to the NMOC flight application. What we want in this event is to have your voice and your input. So we will kindly ask you to be interactive. If possible, address us directly using one of the microphones we will have available in the room, or those which are in front of you. If you prefer to raise your questions while we are presenting and demonstrating different topics during those 2 days, you may access this possibility through the same app using Ask Your Question. You just need to highlight your name and submit at least 1 question before we are able to see it. We hope that, like in the last events, we will cover all the questions, and if we are lucky enough to break a record, I think more than 200 questions were answered per event in the last 2 years, which is quite important number. Short introduction about the lobby. You had a chance to see it. You will be able to get familiar with the different operational tools and the tools which are available for the day-to-day use. You can visit the NM operations stands, NM connections, where you are going to get familiar with the B2B services and the FFIs. More information about the network performance is available there as well, but also other supporting services, including the training and innovation associated with the EUROCONTROL. We also have this year with us e-Helpdesk and AOLO representatives, so you are kindly requested to go and visit their stand as well. About the agenda, trying to follow the good practice from the last 2 years, we dedicated 2 days for this event. The first one will focus on the summer preparation and the good practices coming from the NMOC colleagues, our operational staff here in the EUROCONTROL. And the second day will be mostly focused on the presentations from the different aircraft operators and the colleagues from the ANSP. Before I close this one, I wish you a fruitful conversation and interactive participation in the event, and I will kindly ask Director Network Manager to join us today, Mr. Jacopo Priscinotti. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Boris. Good afternoon, everyone. Very welcome to EUROCONTROL. I am Jacopo Priscinotti, the director here, Network Management. First of all, big thank. I can imagine that maybe even for some of you it was not easy to get here, but I see the room is quite full. So really very happy about to see this level of commitment for the network. So I'm an optimistic person by nature, so let's start with the facts that we have around us. First of all, aviation is in a very positive growth turn. We are this year at another 3%. Not only we are in a very positive growth turn, we are also in a phase where there's a lot of resilience in the people wanting to fly. Geopolitical instability, economical crises, you name it, but still load factors, as you know better than me, are very high, and the trend of growth is there to stay. So I think this is the starting point where we all need to look at things. Now, if we consider all this, we have one major task, all of us, which is to protect this growth. We're all here, aviation partners, let me use this word, and we're all here to ensure that, of course, individually, all our businesses are successful, all our airline businesses, all our airport NSP's business are successful, but also we need to have a wider goal to ensure that aviation is successful, because if aviation continues to grow, we are all going to be in a very positive environment also for our personal evolution. So that's a must. And of course, it's not a walk in the park, like my colleagues like to say. It's very complex. It's very complex because we have to protect, first of all, a record trend within the transport modes, which is to ensure the highest level of safety. Secondly, we have to protect the growth. And in that light, we need to acknowledge that we are in a very highly saturated environment. What do I mean by highly saturated environment? I mean that there's so many aircraft flying within these operational concepts that we have, being in the airspace, being on the ground with the airport capacities, and so on and so forth. And in this environment, we also have the need to ensure that each and everybody understands that whatever positive or negative thing we do at a specific local level, this will have a snowball effect throughout our aviation ecosystem. That's the must. That's the most important thing that I would like to provide you as a message. It's not anymore that we can get away, or this is an ATC delay, or this is an airline turnaround delay problem, or this is whatever happens in each niche part of our day-to-day work has a significant snowball effect on everything. That is why it's so important that, as you know, in Europe, with the support, because the network manager is a supporting function of all of you which are delivering, we have identified all the major priorities to be done and delivered in order to ensure that we can have the best summer possible. And whatever improvement is made in any specific sector of aviation is going to turn out to have either a better or a worse summer for all of us. And I'm really see that also looking at the agenda, and I really see looking also at the show that that these 2 days are absolutely important. On one side, because it will trigger the understanding of what we are working to do in supporting the aviation network, what are the interactions and what are the tools and the capabilities that we provide and that we share in order to allow you to do even better your job, but even more, the environment you are faced with, having a more bird eye view on the situation for summer 26. Summer 26, again, it's going to be challenging. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be the perfect summer, like 25 was not the perfect summer. But as I always like to say, there's a huge number of shades of gray in the system. Last year, we managed to get to, let's say, a sufficiently good shade, which was not so bad, but still was not optimal. And this year, we have more traffic, more constraints. We have the entry-exit as well on top of everything. And we need to do better than last year. We absolutely need to demonstrate to the world that Europe is highly performing. Now, with that in mind, there's also another caveat, which is connected to the experiences that each and every of you guys have made, which that's why I like the scheme. Tomorrow you will hear from some airlines on their experience. And that's also something which I believe relevant, because the sharing of best practice is not just the usual buzzword, it's reality. We are so many, because of the European fragmentation, because of the competition of the business, that we need really, for the purpose of improving aviation, to take the best out of best practices, sorry for the wording, from everyone. And a last word from my side, so I really encourage all of you to do all the best really to exchange, to use this opportunity not only as a working element, but use the times outside this meeting also to speak with each other and really to get this partnering approach moving in real terms. Last point is also on modernization. As you know, EUROCONTROL and the Network Manager, we have this INM program, which is to modernize quickly and provide better and better tools. So don't be eager to ask. And I think since now this is becoming a very stable platform, you will see the evolutions of all the working and the services that we will do to, again, serve better more and more you guys. And you're a fundamental source of, let's say, providing inputs through the various working groups in order for us to understand where we can do better. So I leave you with that, because you see you have a lot of work to do, and with the applause of taking the best out of these 2 days, because it's really something that will potentially benefit the summer 26 in an important way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jacopo. So we're going to move on now with the main parts of the session. It's really good to see such a full room here. I recognize some people, and there's also lots of new faces as well, so that's really good. Those of you that know me from previous meetings, you know that I like to wander about and ambush people. So I'm going to be doing a bit of that. But before we go into the details of all of that and the Q&As and all of that, I'd first like to introduce our colleagues from e-Helpdesk and e-Helpdesk, who are going to say a few words. So over to you, Richard, and then Frody. Or Frody and then Richard.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and well, I'm greatly honored to be here in front of all of you professionals. I would like to firstly thank EUROCONTROL and especially Boris for this amazing event, third year now, and also for including us and recognizing the flight dispatchers in Europe. We have a booth right outside, and I encourage all of you to come and talk to us. Me, Richard, Matthias, and Hulda will be there and open to conversations. I'm not gonna say much more, but again, truly happy to be here, and thanks again, Eurocontrol, for an amazing event.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you to the entire Eurocontrol Flight Dispatch Days team. Your support, your commitment, your work, and your leadership continue to show the support for flight dispatchers and flight operations officers across the network. My name is Richard Yates, and I am here representing the all-volunteer force that is EUROCONTROL. Together with our colleagues at EUROCONTROL, we work closely with regulators and industry leaders to promote and protect the critical role of flight dispatchers and flight operations officers. Let me be clear, flight dispatchers are not a support function. You are the decision makers in the modern Operation Control Center. Active decision makers, real-time decision makers, and preemptive decision makers, providing safety and resilience in a progressively automated system. Over the next 2 days, take advantage of the opportunity in front of you, not just to learn, but to exchange ideas, challenge perspectives, build new relationships, and those will carry forward well beyond this event. As artificial intelligence continues its rapid integration into the aviation, it will absolutely make us safer and more efficient, but it will also challenge how we operate. And through all of that, human decision makers, you in this room, remain essential. Many of the tasks you perform today will evolve. Many of the tasks you perform today will evolve or be supported by automation. That is not a risk, it's an opportunity. An opportunity to spend more time where you add the most value, thinking ahead, managing risk, and making better decisions for your airline and for the whole network. Airlines that truly understand and empower the dispatcher role, as envisioned under ICAO annexes, will be the ones best positioned to succeed in the next phase of aviation. And a big part of that starts here through training, shared knowledge, and building trust across our community. So if we haven't met yet, please take a couple minutes over the next 2 days to come and say hello. I generally like to meet everyone in this room. And again, thank you to Eurocontrol and the entire Flight Dispatcher Days team.
Thank you, Frody. Thank you, Richard, for that. Much appreciated. So what we're going to do now is move on to the main agenda items. Before we do that, let's just talk a little bit, just expanding on what Boris was saying earlier on about the Q&A. So this is your chance, the next 2 days. We'll have lots of sessions, particularly today, where it's fairly unstructured and you can ask whatever you want. And please do ask whatever you want. This is your opportunity. This is a huge learning experience, and we have quite a lot of expertise in the room, not just from Eurocontrol, but from ANSPs and, of course, the flight dispatcher community here. So it's a real opportunity to swap ideas and to ask those questions. You know, that awkward question that you think, oh, maybe I shouldn't ask that, or I'm not so sure about that. Well, that's okay, because you can do it in the relative anonymity of the QR code, and we will have that then, and we can then refer to those. But also, if you want, stick your hand up, and I will prioritize people in the room, because I think it's much better that way, that we can get a good debate going. I would ask, because I know some of you, but not all, and of course, not everybody knows everybody, so please give your name if you're comfortable with that, but certainly give the company that you represent when you ask a question, so that we have an idea of where it's coming from. Okay, so thank you for that. What I'm now going to do is hand over to Mr. Andy Woolen, who's going to give us a short presentation on FFIs.
Just to clarify, I'm not going to present FFIs as a subject. It's more to try to use these days for what we've planned in the agenda, and to try to not, because FFIs is so new and there are so many problems with FFIs, It's going far better than could have been expected, to be honest, in terms of the uptake of it and the quality we've already been receiving from you guys. But, however, there are a lot of unknowns with FFIs. It's who do I speak to when this happens? Who do I call? Do I call my flight plan service provider? Do I call NMOC Center? Do I call the FFI's team at EUROCONTROL? It is unknown, and we're getting a lot of queries coming in, which is expected, but it's just here to say, can we please try not to spend too much time in this room talking FFI specifics? There is a stand outside with our FFI support team there, so if you have any specific questions or issues about FFIs, please go out there and speak to them. If there is something that is related to a topic on the agenda, there's no harm in talking about it if it is related. But let's try not to spend too much time on that topic. And I've just got a couple of slides to maybe help in understanding where to go or a couple of issues. And the first one is EFPLs, the FFI's fix and format flight plan being sent, and you get what you've been used to over many years, a reject message from IFPS. Now, the response to that is not revert to ICAO format. If the error in that reject is what you're used to seeing, it's a root error, the expected response is to try to fix the problem in your EFPL and resubmit a new EFPL. But we know the flights have to continue to fly, and we do get to points where either one of you guys don't have access within the system to fix something. We have to allow at the end for ICAO format flight plans to be filed when they shouldn't. But that's an expected end result. But please don't think just because you get a reject of an EFPL, your first reaction is to submit an ICAO format flight plan. Please try to fix it. And the main one that we're seeing a lot of questions on, which is a little bit difficult for us, is where the format that's coming in the EFPL, because it's so complex compared to the ICAO flight plan, which is average 13 lines of text, in an EFPL and FFI's flight plans, 2,000 lines of text. So, of course, it's been very difficult for your service providers to code that. There have been mistakes at our end and the systems outside. But if you're getting a reply from IFPS, from NM, telling you that there's a format issue in the trajectory, for example, that's not something that we can help with. So please don't call EUROCONTROL Operations Center saying, I've got a format error. That's something, if you're seeing that and it's usually something you can't fix, that's a case where you would submit an ICAO format flight plan, get your flight plan in the system, let the flight operate, but you have to go back to your flight plan service provider then and communicate to them the problem. And then they will contact us if needed to discuss solutions to the problem. We also get a lot of repetitive questions, which is, again, normal. What the FFI's team have done, have put a frequently asked questions on the website. There's on the slide there, you'll see the URL. There is a booklet that has been put on the website for this event. In there, you'll see a lot of contact information, including the URL to go to the frequently asked questions on the FFI's EUROCONTROL website. And just a second slide to explain a little bit of who we expect to be contacted when you have a problem. So if you have an urgent flight planning problem with your EFPL, if you are having issues with the route, this is just as it was with ICAO flight plan filing for the last 30 years. You can contact our ops room. If it's on day of operation trying to get the flight plan in, if it is something that you want to, it's post operations, it's not urgent, then please contact our incident investigation team, file a complaint, file a ticket so that we can investigate post ops. I mentioned already the format issue. That's where we would expect you to go back to your computer flight plan service provider. Technical problems. I know that Okta is causing a lot of problems. It's a completely new security protocol. For those who've already moved to NMUI flight, we'll be going through Okta issues. So I mentioned that here today as well, because it's a lot of questions about Okta as well as FFIs. If you have any questions about that, again, outside in the stands, we have some colleagues who can answer those questions about the login issues with Okta. If you have a problem with passwords needing to be reset and it doesn't work on the web, then contact our technical help desk. If you have formal requests about needing a different profile, needing first-time access, in the booklet there is a link to go to the form to fill out. If you have any issues with that, again, there is on the slide, our customer support team are there to help you if you can't help yourself on the website. And finally, if you have any questions about the FFI's concept, then we have our FFI's team. The email address is there. Please contact them, and they also are waiting outside for all of your questions over the next couple of days. That's it, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andy. So, of course, Andy was saying that we should, there's a lot of expertise outside of the room. If anybody does have any quick reaction questions, I'm more than happy to take them now. And as long as we don't go too deep into it, then I'm more than happy to see if there's anything in the room. While we're waiting for that, I did notice a few people taking pictures of the slides on their phones. Fine, if that's what you wish to do, no problem. But all of the presentations that will be made over the next 2 days will be available to you online anyway. So you will have access to everything that you see. So you don't need to worry and sift through all your WhatsApp chats and all the rest of it. Okay. Are there any questions on Andy's? Have we got anything there? No? Okay, so nothing in the room at the moment. As Andy says, please use the expertise. There are, Donal and his team are outside and we're more than willing to help on any of the questions that you may have on FFIs as we go through. Okay, so let's move on then to the next agenda item, which is several of my operational colleagues will be giving an overview of the various tools that are available to help you this summer to deal with the challenges that we're all going to face. So there'll be, I think there's about 4 or 5 presentations. What we will do is, after each presentation, I'll open the floor up for questions. During the presentation, if anything comes to mind, please use the QR code so that we can address those issues as well. Without going on any further, I'm now going to introduce Andrea, who is going to start the summer toolbox presentation, I believe. Okay, if you'd just like to talk amongst yourselves for a moment while we get this. There we go. Okay, are we ready, Andrea? Okie dokie. And over to you.
Good afternoon. It's nice to be here again this year as well. Thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Andrea. I'm part of the flight planning team. Along with my colleagues, we will be available at the stands later on to explain, demonstrate any flight planning issues you can bring to us. Today I will demonstrate some of the features of NMUI related to rejects, route proposals, route catalogs, and if you get a reject message or a flight suspension due to revalidation issues, what your action should be. So, I have prepared a flight that was rejected. Here we go. So we've got the rejected flight for today here. This is the message you would receive with the reject. In most cases, you would have a POS route, so possible route, available in the reject messages itself that you could test and see if it's applicable for your airline. If you do not have any POS route or the POS route is not suitable for you, you can recreate the flight plan in free text editor. Okay, and here you've got the errors that have caused the rejection. If there's a simple error, you can go to RAD homepage and pull up the RAD document, and it might be a simple fix. If that's not the case, your next option could be propose routes. Now, while the system is thinking about that, a quick note, the proposed routes that are being offered to you are based on the trajectory and in most cases the flight level of your original route that was rejected. So based on that, this would be the proposal of the system. At all times, it remains the responsibility of the dispatcher to ensure that the route proposal that is offered by the system is suitable for your operations. In some cases, the system would propose different flight levels which might not be suitable for you. So assess it in your flight planning system and then take the decision if this is suitable for you. Now, I am not going to go into a lot of details about this. If there are any questions or if you would like a more in-depth demonstration, please find us at the stands and we will go through all of the options you have. Now, if the route proposals are not suitable, your second option should be the full route catalog. Now, the full route catalog contains all historical routes that have been filed and flown by different airlines for that particular city pair. The route catalog is being cleaned for syntax error every ARAC cycle. That means if a point does not exist anymore or an airway does not exist anymore, that route is completely removed from the route catalog. So it is very possible that at the change of ARAC cycles, that route catalog is empty. It is a possibility. Now, you've got here both the route proposals at the top and the route catalog. Again, the route catalog does not mean that the route is valid. You would need to copy the route by using either copy route button or just select it and copy it and put it in the in your flight plan to see how it evolves either into a different reject, which might go through a route proposal and you get a different route, or if it's valid. So let's do this copy. Here we go. Now you have different errors, so you can go through the same process again, propose route, route catalog, and see how that evolves into a valid route or a different type of reject. Now, in some cases, you will not get any route proposal. You will not get anything in the route catalog. This is particularly the case for some very small operator, military flights, hospital flights, in which they're flying from airfields or airports which are smaller. They don't get that much traffic. There's nothing in the system for you. In that case, now let's go to flight query. I've opened a usual flight query page. I'll take everything out, and I'm going to aerodrome set. So it's below aerodrome, it's aerodrome set. I'm not filling in anything in terms of airline, aircraft, nothing like that. I'm just doing aerodrome set. Here, I'll give you an example, Echo Golf. Okay, I will take UK as an example, and I will take departure. What I'm telling the system, give me all departures from UK, because that's a flight that I want to do, a small airfield in UK to a small airfield in Italy. Query. Now here I've got everything that's flying out of UK all over the world. The address column at the top, click on it. Manage filters and sorts. I think most of you should have seen this before. I'll take this out. Okay. Filter contains. I want to go to Italy, Lima, India. Okay. Here I'm only going to use one example, but you could put multiple Lima Echo. So if you can't find anything, you can evolve your search into multiple queries. But I'll just leave Italy. That's what I want. Okay, and here I have all the flights departing from airports in UK going to airports in Italy. This type of filtering can be very broad or can be very wide. You can filter from one specific airport or one specific airport group, so all airports in the London area, to all airports in Italy. So it's totally up to you how to use it, but this is very useful when there's nothing in the route catalog, there's nothing in the route proposal, or something has happened that has closed a lot of airspaces. You can see maybe something that can help you build a route from here. And once you have a route with some errors and a trajectory you're happy, go back, route proposal, and see if that can come up something. It's a very similar process if you go through airspace. For example, you would like to go through Switzerland. Query. Now I've already have the filter saying I want flights arriving into Italy. So again, you can add more filters, add you like this is hopefully something that can help you find a route, a trajectory, a flight level that's suitable for your airline, that you can take it further. Now, once you've got the valid flight plan, you file it to EUROCONTROL. The system will try and, via the opportunity tool, will try and provide you with further optimization. So either for fuel or anything like that. So in some cases, you will have in the opportunity column, you will have an option to further optimize your route. Once your flight plan is filed to EUROCONTROL, it goes through a system revalidation every 30 minutes from 12 hours before EOBT to EOBT, which means due to the way the environment works, once a new UUP is published or the EUP is published, there is a chance that your route is no longer valid due to activation of different areas. In that case, the flight plan would be suspended, or you would receive a message either for a suspension or for an advisory saying your route is no longer valid, in which case you go through the same steps that I've just shown you for a flight rejection. So route proposal, route catalog, building a new route. In some cases, the message itself will contain a route proposal as well. So similar like I've shown you with the reject message, you'll have a post route in the message advising you what are your options. We also have available, I'll introduce this shortly, the nav editor. This is available for your companies to validate your routes on future ARACs. Page is still only. Now here you have currently loaded current ARAC. You will have the next ARAC loaded. So you will select the ARAC that you want to test your route, and you'll copy your route, and you'll go through the same steps as for a normal flight plan. Validate and propose route. A quick note here, this is for testing your routes on future ARACs. This should not be used for CTOT. So anything related to checking what type of slot you would have or what type of CTOT you would have should not be used via this tool. This is purely to check via RAD restrictions in the future. Currently, you can only test one flight plan at a time. In the future, there might be the option for you to check multiple flight plans at the time. And here I've demonstrated some of the options you have in NMUI. What I would like to mention is the routes that are proposed to you via the system, there are system proposals. Therefore, a person didn't look at the route necessarily and said, well, the flight levels are too low or they're not suitable. It is at all times the responsibility of the dispatcher, your responsibility, to ensure that the route that we have proposed to you are suitable for your airlines in terms of flight level, trajectories, countries that you are crossing, permissions, etc., etc. If you need help with anything, you are more than, if the routes are not suited for you, you want to avoid certain countries, then by all means give us a phone call, or come now at the stand. I will show you how to use the route proposal to avoid certain airspaces. But if you need any further help, please call us. And if you need help today with a specific case, by all means, come and have a chat with us at the desks. Thank you very much for your attention. If there are any questions now or later.
Thank you, Andrea. So,
Thank you.
thank you. That was a nice comprehensive overview of what to do in the event of a rejection message. So we looked at the proposals, possible route, proposed route, the route catalogue, and then of course if all of those things fail, how you can actually use the system to build your own route. Then you can further optimize that route, and then there was, we looked also at future ARACs and how we can use the system to help with testing routes against future ARACs. So quite a lot of stuff there. I know there are a couple of questions online, but I'd like to throw it open to the room. Does anybody have anything they would like to ask Andrea at the moment? So we obviously answered all of your questions. You have nothing that you're concerned about. Everything was absolutely clear. Is that correct? Okay. Chris, I believe there was something from Wizz Air. There was one question there that that we can use.
Yep, question from Wizz Air. Why are there sometimes different route proposals in NMP and in CHMI? Is it working from different sources?
It's not working from different sources. The NMUI has an extra feature called mixer routes. That's not available in CHMI, but saying that, the system will propose you a maximum of 5 routes, if I'm not wrong. So you have a multitude of route proposals. It's just the ones shown to you. It's based on certain features in the route proposal criteria, and it will only propose you a maximum of 5. So it doesn't mean that the route proposal in CHMI is wrong or the route proposal in NMUI is wrong. It gives you the first 5 that the system considers more suitable for you. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Andrea. I hope that answered the question. If there's any follow-up on that one, please raise your hand and we'll see what we can do. In the meantime, Boris, I think there was a couple of questions.
Just another one here, Chris, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
In NMUI, when you have a rejection, currently in CHMI, you can hyperlink that rejection to the actual RAD. But in NMUI, you've got to go to the RAD document and sort it out. Is that going to be, in the future, the hyperlink will be back again?
I think Natalia's in the outside. Andy, if you can.
The answer is simply yes. Yes, we are looking at the options to quickly link from any error message, be it the validator itself, the results of the validation, or in a reject to open not the RAD document, but it will go directly to our electronic version of the RAD.
Thanks, Andy. And just as a reminder, Natalia, who's on the stand outside, is our product owner for the NMUI flight. So if there are specific features that you either want to inquire about or even have some ideas for future evolutions, then certainly you're more than welcome to suggest them to Natalia. Any questions in the room? Come on, guys, there must be something. I'm going to keep going on the ones that are online at the moment, but that doesn't mean you lot are off the hook, okay? So I will be coming and asking more questions. Chris or Boris, if you could give me another question.
So, question from Air Canada. I have a question for the international traffic to North America. If it was to select departures from FCO, can I select a destination in the US or Canada?
Yes, you could, but keep in mind that your route validity would depend on the end, well, in this case, on the exit point to outside of Eurocontrol area. So it's a bit difficult to say if you can copy a route from another airline. It will all depend on what your permission would be in terms of exiting, or if it's the other way around, entry to Eurocontrol. I do know some airlines or some operators have to use certain points of entry and exit, so you will again have to assess if those routes will be suitable for you.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. Any questions in the room? Yes, gentleman at the back, sir. I'll bring a microphone over to you. It'll take me a while, I'll get there.
Question is related to the FFIs, I think. Several times when we cancel the flight plan, I mean, we received a goofy error. And when we try to file the new ATC flight plan, it's rejected. When we contact the colleagues from the EUROCONTROL, they said that we can file the ATC via B2 free text editor. Do you have any solution for this? Instead of filing the ATC with free text editor, to send it via flight planning system?
Thank you. Andrea, Andy, can either of you address this one at the moment, or is it one that we have to take outside?
The goofy is, I think I need to see the case, but under normal circumstances, if your flight planning system has submitted an EFPL which has been accepted and a goofy has been sent, when that flight plan is cancelled, the flight planning system has to resubmit the flight plan with a new goofy. If you're seeing another rejection for the goofy's already used, then that's really a structure format problem. You should not be reusing a goofy. And if you're having that sort of technical difficulty with your flight planning system, the response you're getting from our ops is there is no solution. If that error is coming and it will be recurring because it's a system issue, then the solution is to submit your flight plan as a ICAO 2012 flight plan. Now, if you don't have the possibility anymore of doing that, then there is an option to submit it through the NMUI interface to submit a flight plan, but it's generally not the solution that most airlines will use, because you have not put it through your flight planning system, you have not got the full package you need when submitting a flight plan. So I would say it's a last resort to use the ICAO flight plan through the free text editor submit. I would expect a flight planning system to have a backup solution that if EFPL is not possible, submit the flight plan as an ICAO format flight plan.
Okay, thank you. Anna, do you have a follow-up on that?
I have another question for related to the free text editor and the route catalog. Sorry. Could you confirm that route catalog gives any suggestion for the airports outside the IFPS zone, or just it gives the route for the between the airports from the IFPS zone and outside the IFPS zone? For example, from the Baku to the Chicago or Hong Kong, for example, it gives route suggestions, but between the Hong Kong and Mumbai, will it give the route or not? It will not. Okay. Thank you very much.
Do you wish to follow that up?
I do. It's an annoying question because you've highlighted a limitation in our system. The route catalog will show you the part of the route that was flown up until the entry or the exit, and we have seen flight plans that have been submitted going a long way outside the area of responsibility of Eurocontrol with just a long DCT, because they have used that route catalog route portion and not realized that that's the bit inside that is for us, and you need to add the part of the route yourself outside the zone.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the questions, Anna. Much appreciated. I think with the Goofy one, obviously it's a unique Goofy for each flight plan. Talk to our FFI's colleagues outside as well to see if there's anything else that you can think of to help you with that one. But okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? See, we've got the ball we've got the ball rolling now. Gentleman over there, yes. Use that microphone. Does that work? Yeah, there you go. They can be a bit temperamental.
I think that works. My name is Alexander Penchuk. I'm from Air Canada. Just a follow-up question regarding the limitations of the system as you would exit the Eurocontrol airspace. Is there any intent to discuss with the Gander Oceanic Control Area, NAV Canada, or the FAA in terms of expanding the route catalog information, or is there any discussion going on or intent in that sense, or is it just a limitation within Eurocontrol and that's where that sits?
The short answer is no. It's
Okay, thank you, Andrea. Thank you for the
Eurocontrol
question.
route catalog.
So the route catalog is only within the zone, effectively. That's what we're saying. Okay, but thank you for the question. Okay, gentleman over there, if you wouldn't mind mentioning your name and your company would help as well.
Hi, Andrea Pergola, Ita Airways. You showed us the IFPS validation against the next IROC cycle for the ICAO 2012 format. Of course, regarding the FIXM format, this is something that needs to be built inside the flight planning system, I guess, but there will be a possibility in the future to, let's say, upload even the FIXM file directly in Eurocontrol while we wait for our flight planning systems to provide this function.
I think Andy's having a think there. Andy, can we address that one, please?
At the moment, it is not envisaged that Eurocontrol will deploy a EFPL filing service. We don't have an EFPL validation service that is in our user interfaces. That is something that we provide to the computer service providers, the flight planning service providers, to be able to validate under the current AIRAC or in the future AIRACs. But there is no plan for us to do the NMUI, EFPL file upload and validation and filing.
Thank you, Andy. Okay, any further questions? Gentleman over there, yes, please.
My name is Amr, I'm come from Air Cairo. I've been exploring the NMUI, and through the e-Helpdesk, there is a service that I saw for the first time. It was not available previously, which is relay a message to the crew. That is, how does that work, or what is the context of that?
Thank you very much. Nicola, do you want to take that now, or will you address it in your presentation later? And will you get a microphone that works? Some of these can be very temperamental, by the way, so I have this wandering mic. Go on.
Thanks for the question. It's part of the presentation later on the e-Helpdesk, where we have the specific topic to cover these kind of questions. So I believe it's the best that we cover it later on, if you don't.
Okay, so, but if for whatever reason Nicola he forgets, or he doesn't answer it to your satisfaction, please ask the question again and we'll see if we can get it sorted for you. Okay, thank you. Any other questions in the room? Chris, is that your question or is it one from the...
No, it's not my question. No.
Okay, go ahead.
A question, in case a rerouting cannot be accepted due to dip clearance, what solution do you suggest?
I would say, first of all, look at the route proposal criteria. If you need help with that, please come to the desks outside. We can help you, because you do have options to receive route proposal either avoiding an airspace or avoiding a point, or via an airspace you can freeze parts of your route. So by all means, come and see us. We will go into a lot of details on how to use the route proposal criteria. If that doesn't work, if you've tried via airspace, avoid airspace and everything else in the system here itself, give a phone to flight planning and we will try and help you that way. But your first option should be to use the options you have in the route proposal criteria.
Thank you, Andrea. Are there any follow-up questions on that in the room? If not, Chris, is there anything else that we have there? I noticed there was another couple of FFIs ones which we can do.
I think it's just a quick one, this on FFIs.
Go on then.
When does EUROCONTROL plan to replace ICAO 2012 format with the XML with no chance to submit ICAO format anymore?
I shall hand that over to Andy.
It is not actually as straightforward as it seems, because in EUROCONTROL there's clearly the mandate which has just started, which is only 27 of the 43 EUROCONTROL member states. But there's also the military and there's the VFR. ICAO have said that they have a date of 2034 when they expect the ICAO flight plan format to be phased out. So I cannot imagine EUROCONTROL will be able to phase out before that date because of all of the other uses of the flight plan. And we don't know with the military, because of course the military use the ICAO format, but they are not covered under the ICAO guidelines for flight planning. So we don't know where that is going to go in the future. Thanks.
Thanks, Andy. So, okay. I think we've got a couple more questions online. I'm always going to prioritize in the room, so if anybody wants to intervene on anything Andrea or Andy have said so far. Gentleman at the back, yes, please.
Hello, Nicola from Serbia. At the moment, since we are implementing the FFIs in our company, the crucial element and the fact that we have a problem, an issue, is the flight plan update messages that we are offering practically into the system. So far we are interacting with our computerized flight planning service provider, and they have an issue with creating the API with the third-party system. So the practice in our company is practically to use the NMP, in this case NMOI for flight plan update messages, and there is still a discrepancy when we are filing, in this case, any delays, change messages or cancel messages. So far, I'm interested to know what about the issue, since they told us, a computerized flight planning service provider that we are using, they told us that there is still a change in the operator flight plan version. The specifications regarding operator flight plan version has changed from the end of 2025, and there is some less restrictions that you are practically offering. So my question is how we can practically resolve an issue regarding flight plan update messages, and how we can send it directly from the NMOI, not using the computerized flight planning solution. Any practice that can tell us practically how we can use and how we can handle the issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicola. I'm not sure, Andy, whether is that something you can address?
Yes.
Now, is it something you take out?
Yes, it is. I think it's quite relevant, and it's going to affect nearly everybody. We used to have the RQP, I forget now, the Field 18, and that's sort of in Europe didn't get used very much, and so the concept, the FFI's concept, has a great idea, and that is that an EFPL is filed with a flight plan version number, which is mandatory to be incremented every time there is any flight plan update. And you can imagine that it helps with safety when an aircraft logs on, that the pilot FMS is saying, I'm using version 3, the ATC controller's system says they're looking at version 3, so you know you're looking at the same version of the flight plan. All very good as a concept. However, it's not working since the start of the year, when we implemented a rejection in IFPS if the flight plan version number is not incremented when we receive an update. And the main reason is the concept's based really on your flight plan service provider is everything goes through the flight plan service provider, which is just not the case. You know, you in your OCCs have your own tools which might send delay messages or change messages. We have ATC towers, especially at CDM airports. You can have delay messages sent from other area, other systems, and that's causing a big problem, because if we get a delay message sent by Charles de Gaulle, we are then expecting a version 3 when you send something from your flight plan service provider, but your flight plan service provider hasn't incremented the number because the delay message never came from them, and so they send version 2, and IFPS rejects the flight plan saying your version number is out of sequence. So it is something that we are working really hard on with our internal teams, with the flight plan service providers, with the CSAR deployment manager, and we're looking at taking it back to ICAO to say, before we do a hack in Europe to try to solve this problem, maybe we have to go back and look at the FFI's concept in itself. So there is no answer directly to the question of how to solve the problem. It is a problem. At the moment, we have disabled the rejection in our flight planning. The NM flight planning system does not reject any out of sequence messages, but we are looking for a solution. So I would say at the moment, all you can do is go ahead, keep the flights operating with the correct information. Those messages you sent will not be compliant with the mandate. However, priority number 1 is safety. Priority number 2 is keep the flights operating. Priority number 3 is having a nice concept of FFIs. Maybe not 3, to be honest. But that's it.
Okay, thank you, Andy. So I'm going to hand back to Nicola for a follow-up.
Thank you very much for this explanation. And one more question. It's related, first of all, to the practice from all of the operators, all of these people who are practically here. First of all, let us discuss about the intensity of getting involved into FFIs. What is your recommendation regarding the initial filling of EFPL? What could we can practically say that we are starting? How many flight plans, how much flight plans we can start initially? Is there any number that you can propose to us? How many flight plans per day we can initially file, and what could be the intensity in establishing until full go-live segment with FFIs? Is there any period of time, 2 months, 3 months, 10 flights per day, 20 flights per day, what you can practically suggest to us as an operators? Thank you.
Thank you, Nicola. Andy, would you like to take that?
I don't. I mean, it depends, because there is a mandate which says that any flight that is flying into one of the ATMN area, so basically the European Union and a couple of friends, has to be from the 1st of January an EFPL. So by legally speaking, if you are flying into one of those, you should file every flight plan from day one. Now, if you're talking about a carrier that is operating outside that area, and anyway you are going to start filing EFPLs for all of your flight plans, I would say that's really on your side, because it would be different depending on the impact of your solution. How many are you having to manually work on? If everything goes from your flight planning service provider through NM systems, no errors, then do it all on day one. However, that's unlikely, so you have to, I think, individually gauge what that impact is on your organization to decide the speed that you roll it out.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Andy, much appreciated. Thank you, Nicola, for a couple of really interesting questions there. So is there anything else on this particular subject before we allow Andrea to sit down? I think there was a couple more online. Boris first.
Yeah, just quickly to check, we answered already one similar about the avoidance of the airspace. It's about avoiding FIR. I guess you can show it outside, but we have one more. So what are those green and red colors you see on the screen?
The features in the route proposal, it compares your route that was rejected to the proposals that the system has basically offered you. So if it's an improvement compared to the route that was rejected, it will show up in green. If it's if the values are higher than the flight plan, then the color will be in red. So without actually analyzing, you can see if it's shorter, longer, all the information is there. So in short, green is good, red is bad. But this is, again, there's a lot more detail to it. So please, if you have any questions, come and see us. And we can go through all of the columns and tell you what it means and how to get it better. But this was a very short answer.
Thank you. So remember that, everybody. Green is good, red is bad. And I think that will work for most of our tools. Okay. And as Boris mentioned there, we did talk about avoiding airspaces as well. And so I think that's a subject that if you want to look at in more detail, Andrea and her team are more than willing to address that outside. Any final comments there, Andrea?
Come and see us outside with any use cases. We can discuss it with you and give you some solutions, possibly different than what was given initially. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. So I think, although if anybody does have any emergency questions, last-minute questions, you're more than happy to stick your hand up. But I think we've addressed most of those issues that people have had. So thank you very much, Andrea. A very good start to our Toolbox session. I'm now going to introduce our second speaker, Levan from our ops room, who's going to look at pre-tactical and some of the other aspects of the summer. Let me just check we're getting the presentation up. And as I say, you still have the opportunity using your QR code. If something suddenly comes to you like that, like a flash out of the blue, please don't hesitate to put it in there. We'll address it either immediately or at the appropriate part on the agenda. We won't forget any of the questions. And the other thing is, of course, I'm well aware that some of you use our systems and are very familiar with our systems. Some of you not so much. You may be coming from outside of Europe and you only interact with our system on a fairly basic level. So, as I said before, there's no stupid questions. If you want to ask something really, you know, what does FFI stand for? Don't ask me, by the way, because I keep forgetting. But what does something stand for? That's a perfectly valid question as well, honestly, because there's a good chance that if you don't know the answer, there's probably someone else in the room that doesn't either, and that someone's probably me. So you're more than welcome to ask the stupid questions too. Levan, are you ready? He was born ready. Excellent. Okay, in that case, I'm going to hand over to Levan.
So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Levan, and I work in the ops room. So today I will try to walk you through some processes which are behind our pre-tactical and tactical days of operations, and a little bit of an insight and a little bit of updates about cross-border and weather-based operations. So to start with is that our work in the ops room is mainly based on first pre-tactical and then tactical days of operation. So after strategic planning, we go to pre-tactical operations, which starts D-6, but the main job is done on D-2 and D-1. So 2 days and 1 day before the day of operation itself. So what we do there, we take the predict data, we take some flight plans, which are not real flight plans yet, but they are predicted flight data, which come mainly from the flight intentions, from the database of the scheduled flights and so on, and we are enriching this information in our system with and then what we do, we try to predict what will be the situation in air traffic on the day of operation. So before I go and before I show you what is the product of the pre-tactical day, which is called initial network plan, I would like to show you and tell you a couple of words about some news which we are putting on our network operations portal, and mainly here the latest news, the headline news as we call them. Network headline news. There you can see the daily update and the follow-up of the day of operation. Anything which is significant for the aviation world is basically put there, and then anything which needs a follow-up could be found there as well. So it's updating constantly. It's a dynamic process from our side. We're doing it from the ops room constantly, and we're following up all the news. So, and on the right hand side here you can see the initial network plan, which is basically the product of our D-2 and then D-1 job. So after D-1 we're going to the day of operations, and every day, 1 day before obviously, we are publishing our initial network plan. So I will quickly walk you through this document, how it looks and what is important there. So this is one of the older documents, obviously, just to show you, and it starts with the situation, ATFCM map situation over European airspace. So here in blue color you can see the regulated areas or regulated airdromes. In green color you can see some hotspots, which we mention what they are a little bit later. And here from this picture you can see more or less the severity of the day, because the more regulations you will see there, it means that more busier the network will be on the day of operations. So then we go to general overview, and here what we have is just a general outlook on the network. For example, approximately 35,000 flights are expected and so on, and you see some spotlight on the areas which will be mostly affected by disruption or weather or whatever comes our way. And then the important one comes, which is our weather map, cross-border convection forecast, as it's called. And here we can see the plan, we call them polygons, what we expect for tomorrow's weather, because this is still pre-tactical, as I mentioned. Here, the more prominent is the color, the more severe is the weather, obviously. So the worst one could be purple, then it's red, and so on. So keep an eye on this map, and I will come back to it when I go to our weather-based operations. So basically, it starts here. We need to assess what's happening and what will be happening tomorrow in the network. And we're doing it, obviously, with our MET specialist, who is, since last year, embedded in the ops room as well. Then we can see MET Outlook here. So it's a weather assessment. And after that, we go to this capacity and weather-based operations, which will change for this summer. It will not be, I mean, the presentation will change for this summer. It will not be presented like it is in writing here, but I will show you how it will be updated for coming summer. After we have situation in the network, airdromes and then airspace. Here you can see 4-letter ICAO codes of designated to airspace or given airdrome, and then you see what is expected there. It could be a regulation, it could be some disruption expected, it could be work in progress, it could be many different things. It could be industrial action or whatsoever. So after that, the important part, I want to stop here for a while so you see which RN scenarios are implemented. I will say a couple of words about scenarios in general. So what we are doing, we are regulating the traffic, we are looking at demand and capacity imbalance. And then we put a regulation. A regulation is a ATFCM measure, basically, which limits the number per hour, right? But the scenario works a little bit differently. It is an ATFCM measure in a nutshell as well, but it is a zero rate, which says you cannot go to the restricted airspace, you have to avoid it. So we have several types of scenarios. Romeo type, which is simply reroute scenario. Fox Lima, which is flight level capping scenario. And now we have this, since last year, Romeo November, which is network scenario, network reroute scenario. So the idea here is that you can, it's a hyperlink, you can click on any of them, and it immediately jumps to the picture, and you can see what it does. So whenever you're looking at the INP, Initial Network Plan, you can click on any Romeo November scenario, and you see what it does, what is expected from you. In this particular case, you see the airspace from where you need to reroute. So now, just a couple of words about how scenarios work. They are based on city pairs. So we take city pairs from two, and then take a reference location, and then we say everybody from two through this reference location have to avoid it. So this is, and that's why the capture of the traffic when we apply a scenario is more or less static, in a way that it's always the same city pairs addressed in the same scenario. It's not a random capture. You cannot have other city pair which have not been designated in that scenario before. So it's pre-agreed measure. Okay, so we go back now and we see the number of Romeo November scenarios, and after that we see some regulations applied. So here it comes alphabetically, FMP by FMP, so you can see the 4-letter designation for the airspace, and then it comes with a regulation list. But normally what we do here, it's not only a must that we put only regulations there. So we put something like hotspots, for example. Here, for example, we have a hotspot. You can see it here. So hotspot means that there is no regulation on that particular traffic volume or that particular airport or airspace. However, there is some kind of capacity, demand capacity imbalance, or it can be any type of other disruption which we believe might cause a regulation. So this is just a heads up for you, for users, to anticipate that there might be some regulations on the way on the day of operations. And on top of it, we put sometimes some relevant information for the airspace or airdromes, which says it's high demand, or for example, I can quickly show you, for example, here, if the runway is closed for some reason, like here it's a work in progress, and so on. It can be different type of disruption mentioned there. So in a nutshell, what I want to mention, that going through this document, you can see not only the regulations in the system or scenarios in the system, but all the other disruptions possibly foreseen for the day of operations. It can be industrial action or whatsoever. Okay. Then, of course, we will not go through all of them, indeed, and then we go to when it changes, and it's right here. So this part is the military exercise part. Here you can see all the planned and published military exercises for the day of operation, and often you have the time span for how many days they will last and what will be the impact and effect. If there is a severe impact foreseen from the military exercise, then we put a note, and sometimes we even suggest reroutings and airspaces to be avoided, and depends on the military exercise really. Okay, and after that we go to NAT tracks, North Atlantic tracks. It's the published information. You can see it just for your information if your operations is considering this type of information. And finally, we go to the more granular network weather assessment, which is divided by weather situation, en route situation, and airports overview. So here again, if you're planning your operations to one of those airport or through one of those airspaces, you might take it into consideration for your information. And this is pretty much how the initial network plan looks. It is published every day around 1600 UTC, and you can see it, and it's published via the NOP portal. And NMUI, of course, you can see it there. All right. And now from here, as I mentioned, some RN scenarios and scenarios in general. And now I want to walk you through how our weather-based operations capacity and weather-based operations look. So it started for last summer when we realized that something was necessary to be done in order to help situation, to improve traffic situation in general. And the idea came that why don't we start looking at weather and then shifting some traffic flows around it to make it more optimal, to optimize the operations. So the main objectives were, well, basically the weather, where we have weather experts now, the MET experts now embedded in the ops room, so they are helping a lot to identify potential problems and give us better heads up for the forecast. Well, the idea was to make it network-centric, obviously, because here we're trying to concentrate not on a particular problem somewhere locally, but we're trying to concentrate on a network itself. We are looking at the network. We have this benefit of bigger picture, bigger view, let's say, and then we can concentrate on the network problem itself, so we can balance the network. Because of that, we can see all the bottlenecks, we can see all the problems throughout the day, and that's why we wanted to tackle some bottlenecks, some capacity imbalances with demand, and obviously to optimize the operations. Finally, as a result, to mitigate the weather and DCB, demand capacity imbalances. So the ultimate goal here is to, after all these objectives and realizing them, the ultimate goal here is to improve the coordination on the bad weather day, because what happens usually, it starts to be a little bit chaotic on the day of operations if the weather is really, really bad. So we try to improve the coordination here with all the actors and between all the actors in this case. After that, it's not the sequence, it's just one after another here, to better utilize the available capacity. Because often what happens, we still have some gaps and some capacity available in some areas, but we need to reroute traffic in order to be able to use that capacity, to utilize that capacity, and to alleviate the situation in the affected airspaces. And the last but not the least, and keep an eye on this one here, network stability, because we will come back to it later in this presentation. So this one is a big thing. This one is very important because in a nutshell, what we're trying to achieve here, we're trying to improve the network stability and the predictability in general, in weather, in bad weather days, or in just capacity problems. So we needed something to realize when do we use these scenarios, or when do we move these flows? How do we move these flows, right? We have two questions, when and how. So this is when, basically. How, it's a scenario, as I already mentioned. So we came up with a set of, we call them triggers, set of criteria, which are pre-agreed and which give us the possibility to start acting whenever one of those criteria is matched. And here we have, from last year, 3 triggers we had, and now we have one more, but those ones did not change. So those ones, most probably, majority of you heard something about it, so those triggers 1, 2, 3 are still the same in the system, and in a nutshell, it's trigger 1, the most severe one, when there is a bad weather. And remember that weather map I showed you just before, and I said the more prominent is the color, so this one is addressing purple and red polygons in this case. What we do whenever we see this, we realize that we can move traffic out of that red polygon or purple polygon, and we try to mitigate this problem. Here we have the decision making, and we implement scenarios after, of course, very carefully analyzing the network situation and making the network impact analysis. Trigger 2 is when we have dark orange polygons, still bad weather, not that bad as trigger 1, but there it's complemented by capacity shortfalls, which have to be agreed and declared by the FMP. So here is again, whenever we have this situation, we're starting to mitigate it via scenarios, via our tools, which I'm not touching this deliberately. It will be next slide, so you will see what tools we are using. And trigger 3 is purely capacity shortfall when there is a capacity problem, a bottleneck, which needs to be mitigated. And then it's the imbalance is confirmed by the FMP, by ANSP, if you like. And then we can, with the full CDM process, collaborative decision-making process, we can engage into moving flows here as well. So these 3 triggers did not change since last summer, but there is something new, which is trigger 4 in the pipeline. So remember I told you something about this stability, network stability thing, and yeah, we need to address this a little bit more here. So what we realized that this stability becomes really very vulnerable after we hit certain marks of delay in the system. For example, whenever it goes to 80,000 minutes of delay and above, the stability becomes a big issue, becomes a big problem. Then to control the network becomes very tricky and difficult. So we realized that, and we came up with a new trigger which will be used only tactically. It will not be a pre-tactical trigger. It will not be used pre-tactically, which means before the day of operations. It will be used only on the day of operations. And the trigger, the criteria for this one, for this trigger, is the network en route delay, en route only, is exceeding 80K minutes, or the cumulative en route delay within 1 ACC exceeding 20K. So here the mindset is that if your airspace is generating 20K of delay, you cannot say it's not a network problem anymore. You cannot say it's the local problem only and not because it spills over the network and causes disruptions. The decision making is pre-agreed as well, so it's an NMOC decision, but it's been pre-agreed in advance, obviously. So to promote network stability, as I already mentioned, this is the whole idea of this scenario and this type of scenarios. And the delay, we have some questions sometimes, what type of delay will you take into consideration? So this delay comes only from already filed flight plans. So here we are not considering artificial delay coming from the PFD flights, predict flight data flights. So only filed flights are considered here. And finally, the RAD relaxation, routes availability document, probably you've heard of it. And if we need to relax some RAD, then in this case, we are relaxing the RAD if it is conflicting with the scenario. Let's say they are affecting the same airspace. One is rerouting traffic to another airspace, and there is a RAD which prevents you to reroute there. So we would normally lift that RAD in order to open the way, the gateway. But it will be this in tools. So now it was when, the triggers, but now it's how. How are our tools? So first tools, as I mentioned, are Romeo November scenarios, which are rerouting traffic laterally. So you have to horizontally reroute out of the affected airspace. Second one is NMRAD relaxation. So every year we are undergoing this process of agreeing on network RADs, or strategic RADs. And those are the ones which we can lift, which means that we can open certain chunks of airspace in order to give you more possibility for planning. And the third one and the new one is a network cherry picking measure, which will be, I will talk about it in a short while just to explain what it is. So for the RN scenarios here, last summer we were looking mainly on the weather problems. So we realized that we needed bigger reference locations for RN scenarios in order to have a safety buffer with the weather and to steer the traffic out of the weather. But now with trigger 4, we realized that if the problem is pure capacity and no weather is involved, then why would we use huge reference locations? It makes sense to use smaller reference locations as well. So this year, for this summer, coming summer, we enriched our Romeo November scenario database with new scenarios which are utilizing and using smaller reference location for more flexibility and to less penalize the traffic which will have to reroute out of it. And one of the new additions for coming summer will be the network cherry picking measure. So what you need to know mainly about it, it will start, the naming convention will start with X-ray November. So like you had Romeo November, which are reroute network scenarios, and the other one now is X-ray November, which is cherry pick network scenario measure. So two things to remember: Romeo November, X-ray November. When you see one of those two, it means that it's a capacity and weather-based operation. So you are affected by that. This is one of the most important things to know. How it works? In a nutshell, it works pretty much the same way as the scenario, but it gives us more flexibility because it gives us the possibility to choose any flight and to apply it on any traffic volume. Before I mentioned that scenarios are based on predefined city pairs, right? And I mentioned that deliberately because here it's not predefined city pairs anymore. Here any flight could be targeted. Of course, we want to give more time to analyze and to reroute, and that's why we select flights at least EOBT -2 hours at least. So The idea here is to complement Romeo-November scenarios, because again, they are based on city pairs which are already pre-selected. We have a limited capture per hour. So sometimes there are simply no more flights on that city pair in the hour or in those hours when we are applying the Romeo-November scenario, which means that if we want to move slightly more traffic, we can complement it now with a cherry-picking X-ray November measure, network cherry-pick measure, and move some additional flights out of the same traffic volume, let's say. So for you, the important part is that whenever you see X-ray November or Romeo November, it requires you to reroute, and if you would not reroute from there, then at seat 1, whenever you normally receive the sum slot allocation message, the flight will be suspended. So if you will not react to it. And normally you will receive the RRPs. RRPs will be discussed by my colleague after me a bit later, and he will mention how you need to read and how you need to react on those ones. But in a nutshell, you need to reroute out of them. So, finally, the practical things, a bit of practical things here, how you see it on the NMUI. So, whenever you are the subject of a scenario or a zero rate where there is a function which is called delay confirmation threshold in our system, you will see it here, this delta with the number of delay. So delay confirmation threshold, in a nutshell, is a number, a minutes, which if your flight is exceeding that delay, you will be suspended at seat 1 time, which is slot allocation, which comes at slot allocation whenever you have the sum message, right? So you will be suspended at that time. So if you're monitoring now the delay confirmation threshold here, and you see all your flights which are the subject of a delay confirmation threshold, on the right hand side you will be able to identify which regulation or which measure is causing this, generating this delay. So by clicking on it, you will see here, you will see more information, and there is something which is scenario name here, and you see Romeo November 6 Lima Quebec. So you immediately realize, aha, this is weather-based operations, Romeo November, and as each scenario, there is something usually in A&M remark. So remark is information to complement the scenario, to give more, provide more explanation about it. So here you will see CWBO, which stands for capacity and weather-based operation. Then it will be Tango for trigger, and then it will be 1, 2, 3, or 4. Depends which trigger have been used. Okay, so whenever you see this, if you see this, that there is some RN scenario generating some delay confirmation threshold, and you see that here in red, then you realize, you look at the remark, you realize that you need to reroute. Even if the RRP reroute proposal message have not been issued and have not been received yet, you need to reroute out of this. So it's expected that out of these ones, you will start rerouting as quickly as possible. And the same applies to X-ray November, which is network cherry picking measure, as I mentioned a minute ago. So here it will be when you see either Romeo November or X-ray November, it means that it's capacity and weather-based operations. So, and now finally, on that, I did it already in the INP. Okay. Yes, and here, thank you, Andy. And here, if you click on the name of the scenario, you will be able to see the information behind it. So it will open. The map comes. well, right? The same, yeah. So it will open the map, the picture, and you will see the information, which city pairs are involved in this scenario and what is exactly the airspace which you need to avoid. Okay, and finally, how we will inform outside world about all of it. So this summer we were working and created something like this PDF generator, which will automatically generate an information about our operations, whenever, of course, with our input, obviously. So first, on the first page, you will see the general info for the CWBO operations. You will see the validity, and then you will see the weather assessment, network situation, and the names of the scenarios and the application times and the number of flights which they are capturing. As well, you will see the names of the NMRADs, the route availability document, again, the RADs which I mentioned before, that we can open some chunks of airspace for filing. So you will be able to see those RADs and their application time. Here in the legend, and it's shown here, so how it works, if there is any update to it, so you can see the red one here and crossed out on top of it, which means that this scenario have been cancelled. This green one means that a new one just has arrived, this scenario, capturing 9 flights. And finally, the yellow is just a modification, which means that there have been updates in the end time for this particular scenario. All right. Then next will be the weather map cross-border convection forecast, where you will be able to see what is predicted, what is expected in the network on D-1 for the D0, day of operations. Then it comes scenario by scenario. So whenever I showed you here the applied scenario list like this, here you will be able to go one by one through those scenarios. I have only one here, obviously not to make it too long, but you will see page by page all the applied scenarios like this in this format. Here you see the reference location, which airspace is this basically. Then you can see from and to, so you can see the city pairs. So everybody from these English airports going to Antalya have to reroute out of this airspace. And here you will see the actual flights, the counts of actual flights, which is basically a number per hour, which are captured in this current scenario. Up top here, you can see the application time, and if the modification comes with the time, here it will be automatically updated as well. Next one, how the RAD relaxation looks. So this is the name of the RAD again. So this airspace was previously closed for filing, and now it's open for filing, so you can go through it and you can file through it. Obviously, RADs here as well, they are based on usually city pairs as well, and you will see which traffic was affected. It means that that traffic can now go through. And on the right hand side, you have the applicability of the RAD. It might vary. This one is H24, but it might vary from RAD to RAD. Application days, dates and times can be different. So this is how you will see it every day, and it will be updated on headline news on tactical day of operation as well. So you will be able dynamically to follow the update in the CWBO. So this is pretty much what I wanted to say about, and just one final touch. You can see our email, this nmoc.cwbo, which is our cross-border capacity and weather-based operations. And if you want to be on the list who receives, for example, this information on D-1, because we have a specific list for where we send this information every day, this PDF which I just showed you, this information. So if you want to be on that list, for example, or you have any other questions, you can contact us on this email. Thank you very much. And if there are questions.
Thank you, Levan. Very comprehensive presentation, quite complex. Please use this opportunity to ask any questions and to iron out any issues that you may have with it. But first of all, just as a quick summary, Levan went through our INP, first of all the headline news, and then the INP, our initial network plan, which is available on the NOC portal and on the information hub. I'd be interested to know actually how many people access that INP, how many people use it on a daily basis. I'm just wondering actually if we could just have a quick show of hands. How many people use the INP on a regular basis? A few hands over there, yep. Okay, that's good to hear, that's good to see. There's about at least half of you, probably slightly more, so that's quite heartening. A lot of useful information that Levan pointed out is available there, and I think maybe later on when we have our What We Can Do For You session, it would be quite good if you could give us maybe a couple of ideas as to what you would like to see on it, what is useful, what is not so useful, etc., etc. In other words, how you might like to see it evolve in the future. Without that input from you, we'll just we'll do what we think is good, and that may not necessarily chime with what you want. So we went through the NOC portal and what's available on the INP via the information hub. We also looked at various types of scenarios, and of course the famous red and green came out there. Red, you can't fly here, we don't want you to fly here for whatever reason, and green is a better place to fly. We went through those and the various other aspects of the, there we go, various other aspects of the information that's available on the INP. And then we looked at cross-border weather and the advances and the changes that we've made in the past couple of years, and particularly for this summer, for the cross-border and how it will impact you. Why do we do this work? This has been something that we've been developing over the last 4 or 5 years, but it's really advanced quite a lot in the last couple of summers. It's really to bring stability to the network. You are very well aware, of course, as Levan said, how much weather is now an issue in the network. You'll be experienced in that yourselves. So we bring stability to the network, and by rerouting small amounts of traffic where we have to and where we can then put fewer regulations on, and therefore not just stability, but less delay for you as well. Levan then described the various triggers that we use for implementing our various measures scenarios, the rerouting, the RN scenarios, the network scenarios, the XN scenarios, etc. And then finally, how you will identify them and what you need to do. The point here being that don't wait for the RRP to come. Actually, as soon as you see the triggers that Levan has pointed out, please look at rerouting the flight. The sooner we can get you to reroute, the better. We are looking also, after this summer, to automate that process even more to help you with your day-to-day activity. Okay, I've spoken enough. You don't want to hear me droning on. So we do have a couple of questions on the chat, but I'd rather hear from people in the room first. We have plenty of time because I'm more than happy to go through the coffee break. No, hang on, let me rephrase that. You will get your coffee break, don't worry about that. But we will stop and we will start this again at the other side of the coffee break. So we're not going to truncate this session, so you get plenty of time to ask any questions. So is there anything in the room that anybody would like to bring up? Gentleman at the back there, yes sir.
Hi, it's Chris from British Airways. I think this is a brilliant change of attitude towards the network this year. I think this is really helpful for airlines. Just one thing though, can I just touch on the cherry pick with the certain flights? I mean, I've we've been a bit of an advocate for this for a long time, that many years ago we used to have cherry picks going through the French airspace with certain flights to help reduce the regulations. So this is another, I think it's better to pick a few flights than a mass amount of flights. But what is the sort of criteria there? Is there going to be a limit to certain flights, certain airlines? Could it be all one airline? Or I'm not against it, I'm just throwing it out there.
Chris, it's a very good question. I'm going to ask Levin and maybe Simon, but someone from our ops.
So thank you for the question. It's a very good question indeed. And there is this thing about this choosing criteria. If we put on the table the choosing criteria which have to be met all the time, we are encountering another complication here, because the whole idea of the network cherry pick is the flexibility. So we have some specific time and some specific place, and we need to address flights here and now in this very moment, which means that we might not have anyone meeting the criteria in there, right? So here where the network and operations expertise on our side comes in place. So there is no such written criteria there, but what that could be done is that in the end of every season, the post-ops analysis could be done on the basis of the flights which have been subject to network cherry picking regulation, and it can be assessed and published that there was impartial approach and there was no deliberate penalization or whatsoever. So it can be done in this way post-ops via publishing the list of the affected airlines.
Thank you, Levin. Of course, if we are putting things on at the same time every day, there is that danger. We are monitoring it, and we will try and spread that delay, or the impact, should I say, as much as possible. But it's a very, very good question. It is something we're extremely mindful of. Is there anybody else that would like to ask anything in the room? Okay, no? Yes, gentleman at the back there, yes, please.
Yes, my name is Milko. I'm from Transavia. I have a question on the RAT relaxation. For example, if I already filed my flight plan and then comes up the relaxation, the only way that I would know would be an RRP, right?
Thank you. So for the RAD relaxation, you will not receive not necessarily that you will receive the reroute proposal. So the reroute proposals will be covered by my colleague after me, and you will have more chance to go into details there. However, normally with the RAD relaxation, it's not necessarily that you will immediately receive the reroute proposal, it's the opening of the airspace. So indeed, it will depend a lot on the workload and everything. So, but what we are doing, we are updating this information with the CFSPs as well. So the CFSPs, they will know that this airspace is now open, and they will be using this airspace in coming filing. So if there is if you reroute or you want to change your flight plan, in this case it will already be considered. However, if you already have the flight plan in the system, it's not 100% guaranteed that you will receive the RRP on the RAD relaxation there, but it will be covered after me as well.
Okay, thank you. So we will address that in a little bit more detail in the next presentation, but if you still have questions after that, then please do ask them. Daniela, did you want to mention something?
No, just wanted to add that in the case of a RAD relaxation, we will also publish, as you said previously, on the NOP. So it will be available, and it will be a new opportunity for all the airlines to reroute on that new route, new available route.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you. And indeed, it's a dynamic, it's updating dynamically as this PDF which I showed. So basically all the NMRAD relaxations, if there is a new one or something changes, it is updated on the headline news dynamically. So if you're following the changes, then indeed you can spot it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Any other questions in the room at the moment? Yes.
Hi, I'm Spencer. I'm also from British Airways. Just wondering when this is going to be launching. Is there a set date for this, or is it already running behind the scenes already?
You mean the CWBO?
Yes, yeah.
It starts at 1st of May until 15th of November, October.
Thank you.
Good question, though, Spencer. Thank you. Anybody else? Gentleman at the back.
Hi, Akash Silasia here. I just want to ask regarding this RAD relaxation, if it's not going to be like the previous question that the specific flight plans won't get the reroute proposal. Isn't it going to be an issue that if I have the opportunity to refile to that sector, which will be relaxed, that sector will be overloaded again?
Okay, Levan, can I give you that one?
So the idea here is the following. First, the RAD itself, it's targeting limited number of flights because it's based on city pairs as well. However, here is another catch, that this airspace is opened for the reason because we realize after the network impact assessment that if there is a weather problem somewhere and nobody can fly through that airspace, we realize that it will be a circumnavigation. The flights will start to unload neighboring airspaces anyhow. If we do not do anything, it doesn't matter that the flights, while flying, will not circumnavigate into that airspace, right? So the idea here is the predictability of the network. We realize that the flights will go that way anyhow. So what we want to do here, we want to give the heads up to the owner of that airspace that now they can plan their daily operations better because they will now see you coming their way. They will have your flight plans in their counts and they will be able to adapt their capacity to your demand now. So it's not that it will be overloaded or not. We know they will go there anyhow. They have to go somewhere.
So I think that really comes back to the question of stability. It's exactly as Levan says. We know if there's weather, people just go ping. And so at least this way, we can manage it better. Doesn't mean you'll get no delay. It may mean that there's a regulation somewhere else, but overall delay and stability, and therefore predictability and capacity is maintained as far as it possibly can be. But it's a really good question, and thank you for that one. Are there any other comments or questions in the room? What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Chris or Boris if there's anything online. Just Chris mentioned to me before, there are quite a few questions online which will be addressed later on in various other presentations. So if we're not addressing it now, we're not ignoring it. Well, we might be ignoring it, but I don't think we're ignoring it. So we're looking to address it later on. If, however, at the end of the session or the end of the day or the end of any session, you don't feel your question's been addressed, please flag that up to myself or to one of the panel here, and we will make sure that it is. Anyway, over to you, Chris or Boris. Anything you have there?
Yep. Can we just go back to a scenario picture, please? This is an old favourite of mine, this one. Yeah, just the plot of the scenario. Is it possible to put waypoints on the green routes to give advice of roughly where you should be going, and to put the airspace in red, the traffic volume or the airspace name on the scenarios? Given that we're getting more and more and more of them, you know, and it works, and in military exercises we see the same thing, you're not putting points on the green lines. And from a flight planning perspective, a dispatcher, it's really handy to have points on those lines.
Thank you. So, regarding the airspaces, if you take a look here in the reference location, it always shows the airspace, and so you can see what is. But with the waypoints, with the waypoints, it's first is that we don't want to over clutter the screen because it will be a lot of them. A lot of waypoints and a lot of different symbols in the screen, on the screen. And second is that whatever we see now as the route, for example, it's not a mandatory route there. So it is a possibility to reroute, and you have to choose one of them. So it's not that you will have to follow certain waypoints for sure. It's a suggestion which way you possibly could go. And then it could be more than one it could be more than one possibilities. This is my point. It could be several possibilities, several routes available, right? And then the waypoints would be different, obviously. So it's not a curved and stone route which is there. It's just a suggestion.
I think the point is here that when you're working with a flight planning system, you've got nothing to look at. You've got nothing to gauge. There's no reference at all of the green lines. So even an exit point from the UK and that point in France would be useful.
Yeah, usually you can see airports and airspaces there, and the rest normally comes via the RRP. So the rest normally comes via the RRP. The whole route, possible routing and waypoints and everything comes usually via the RRP.
Thanks, Levan. Thanks, Chris. I think it's something that we should look at anyway. I understand the question. It is we want to make it more easier, but I think Levan has a point that it's not quite as set in stone as it might initially look. Let's take that one sort of on board, and we'll see where we can how we can develop that as part of our feedback for this, not just this session, but also as part of the CWA for the whole summer when we look at that. Gentlemen, well, first of all, I'm going to throw this open to the room, whether that has inspired you to ask any other question or not. In which case, Chris, is there anything else?
Yeah, there was another question. If trigger 4 mechanism forces me into an airspace that I haven't got dip clearance for, can I be excluded?
So forces in the airspace for which there is no diplomatic clearance. Well, this is a very particular case. It could be solved case by case, and for that they need to contact us. They need to contact Ops Room, and yes, it could be excluded eventually, but we have to receive that call and assess the situation, and then we probably need to coordinate with the FMPs which airspace is involved. So it means that they have to give us a call for sure in this case.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely not a blanket thing that we can do there, and it would not be our chosen option because we don't force anyone to fly in a particular airspace, just say you can't fly there. Now, it's absolutely right, as Evan said, there may be very few alternatives, realistic alternatives, so we would have to look at it on a case-by-case basis.
And we have to study if there is any other possibility to go, and many different criteria. So you need to contact us. That's, in a nutshell, the answer.
Thank you very much. Anything else in the room? Anything else online at the moment, Chris? No? Okay. So if there's nothing more in the room on this particular subject, I'm going to thank Levan very much for his presentation. I think it's showing that that we are now dealing with the weather that that is growing more and more intense over the last few years. I think we're all noting that. Certainly, my garden is. I really appreciate the feedback from British Airways there that this is something that it's a positive action that we're taking. Okay, thank you very much for that. What we're going to do now is there'll be one more presentation. It's not as long as the previous two, so we think we can fit that in. A few more questions after that, and then we'll take our coffee break, okay? Then there's a couple more presentations afterwards, so we're running reasonably on track at the moment. Boris, I wasn't expecting you up there. It's Phil, is it not? Right, okay, I'm going to introduce my colleague Phil from our NMOC, who's going to give us an overview of the Aircraft Operator Liaison Officer role. Over to you, Phil.
Here we go. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Phil. I'm here representing the Aircraft Operators Liaison Officer, which is a desk we have in NMOC. There's basically, I'll keep this short and fairly simple. There's two things that I want you to remember from the end of this. One is who we are and when to call us, and two is what to do if you're stuck in one of these scenarios that Levan has described, because there's a lot to know. There's a lot of little nitty-gritty bits, and I'll try and simplify it. So first, a little bit about us. We are a desk embedded within NMOC, staffed by people who used to do flight dispatch at some point in our careers. We're people who have been where you are. We've struggled with the same things. We've had the same problems, and we understand the challenges you face, and we sort of act as an interface where we can translate network speak into your own languages or the other way. I'm here with two of my colleagues up in the booth there, Sarah and Katerina. We don't have a particular station out there, but we will be floating around near the NMOC desks. If you have any questions, any issues, any of this is confusing, come to one of us, and if we can't answer, we'll find the expert who can and, if necessary, translate it. We have our own desk in NMOC and a direct phone number to us there. You can see the hotline ending in 1992. Basically, you can call us for any situation where you are running very close to a problem that you can't solve. Something that you just can't figure out how to get around, something that you just don't understand, a flight that's at risk of cancellation. We all know crew duty times, airport closure issues, all of that. So we'll understand the problem that you have and work with you to solve it. What I will say is don't call us directly for I need an improvement because my flight is delayed. For that, please go directly to the e-Helpdesk. If you're unable to use the e-Helpdesk, there's the helpdesk line, and my colleague will go through the e-Helpdesk and the helpdesk phone line and all of that in detail with you a little bit later, after the coffee. So to take this whole scenario thing and make it super, super simple, there is a piece of airspace with a 0 rate. You cannot go through it. You will have to go under or around it, depending on its type. And if you receive a message indicating that you are captured by this, then your flight is part of the criteria. There is no way to improve it. Asking for an improvement will just get you a completely blank answer. It's simply not possible. You are outside it, you go around, or you go underneath if it's a flight level capping scenario. 4 to remember, the flight level capping, FL. We've got the rerouting scenario, and then the two big ones for the summer, the rerouting network, and the new one for this summer, the network cherry pick. And what I want to do is go through a few of the issues that we saw in summer 25, since we had triggers 1 through 3 already active. Some of us at our desk noticed the same problems coming up, the same misunderstandings, people facing the same problems, needing help. So I'll try and clarify what happens step by step from your perspective. So Levin, or one of his colleagues, implements a scenario. Flights are immediately captured, and he turns and tells one of us. So we will start sending reroute proposals to the flights in there. We'll try not to send them 6 hours out, because we know you're not going to do much 6 hours out, and there may be many of them being implemented throughout the day as the weather changes. Sometimes ones that were put on in the morning are adjusted for the afternoon. So we try to start sending you out reroute proposals, say 3 to 4 hours before the flight departs. That way you still have time to act on it, and you're still not penalized if you route around it in all of the other regulations. In the reroute proposal message, there is a purpose box, and if the purpose says weather or capacity, you know that you were caught in one of these trigger 1 through 1, 2, 3, 4 scenarios. If it's ATFCM, it's for a standard scenario which we use year round for flight level capping or reroutes, which are implemented not directly by NMOC, but by the FMPs. Well, they implement them, but they are at the request of the FMPs. For the weather, for the RN and XN scenarios, they will say weather or capacity. So that's your first indication. If you're not checking the headline news, if you're not reading anywhere else, the first indication you should receive an RRP for one of your flights. And if it says weather or capacity in the comment box near the bottom, there's no improvement coming. You should reroute around. You can take the route that we have proposed, but ultimately what you need to do is get out of the situation. We will send you the best one that we can find, but if there's something in this that you're not happy with or you would like to adjust it, the important thing is that you are out of the scenario, the 0 rate in the scenario. If you do not receive an RRP, or you don't act on an RRP, or a scenario is put in place very late, or you delay your flight into a scenario time. If your flight was before the scenario is active, you send a delay and suddenly you are captured by the scenario, and you don't have the and it's more than 2 hours before your EOBT, sorry, less than 2 hours before your EOBT, you will immediately receive a flight suspension message. And this is where we saw a lot of people go wrong. They would read the flight suspension message, which gives them the name of the regulation, and a PTOT. This is a provisional takeoff time, which will be at the end of the regulation. And as I said, this isn't going to improve. The PTOT is the one that you will take if you insist that you want to keep the same route. You can do this by sending an FCM. And unfortunately, the flight suspension message, the first thing it tells you to do is send FCM. And a lot of people are sending an FCM, not realizing that that is them declaring, yes, I will take the delay that you are offering me, the PTOT, and they will sit there on a multi-hour delay, not realizing that they can reroute out of it. So, big take-home message, if you are suspended and the regulation name starts with one of these pairs of letters, sending an FCM will give you the full delay with no chance of improvement. What we really need you to do is reroute. Which, again, we will try and send RRPs for all flights affected by this, but on a very heavy day, it's not going to be possible to send one for absolutely everybody, especially if they are changing or flights are being delayed into them. If the delay one of these scenarios would give you is shorter than 20 minutes, you will just receive a slot allocation message. You won't be suspended, and I'm not going to go into details on that. I assume everybody in the room knows how slot allocations work, and if not, you can approach one of us outside and ask. The most proactive thing that you can do is, as Levin pointed out, keep an eye on the NMOC interface, and in the flight list, you have the D beside the delay value that you will be given when your slot, at 2 hours before EOBT, when you would normally receive a slot or a flight suspension. The flights that are marked with D in that column, shown here beside a number, they are flights that will receive a suspension. They are ones that we need you to act on in advance. Even in the absence of an RRP, if you see one of your flights caught in one of these scenarios and you have the D, the best thing that you can do is get it out of the affected area. And you can see it's not visible yet, I believe, but this text box that you can see when you hover over it has been rearranged. It's basically the message from the flight suspension message, but reroute is coming first to indicate that what you really need to do is get out of these areas. I hope that's fairly clear because we had quite a lot of flights affected in summer 25 that we just had to ring them up and say, hey, you know you are sitting on this 6-hour delay and you don't have to. You can just do a small reroute out of it. So please take home the message that if you're caught by any of these, get out because they are very unlikely to change and you will not get an improvement in them. When you receive an RRP, our stated best practice is that you directly match the full text, the full field 15 of the RRP, which I understand is very difficult to do with a lot of your flight planning systems. It will recalculate, your speeds may be different, your optimal levels may be different. You may just want to do something slightly differently. When it comes to these scenarios or any scenarios, the really critical point, the specific route isn't as important as just getting out of it entirely. Secondly, we would ask in general that if you receive an RRP and you don't want it, you send us a reject message so that we know you are not in our pending list of flights who have received an RRP, and we're waiting to see, do you take it or do you not? As Levin said, predictability, knowing where everybody is rerouting is important to us, so the more we have pending, the less we understand about where everybody is going. General stuff that we would just ask for summer 26 is honestly the same as we ask for every summer. Update your flight plans, keep your EOBTs as accurate as possible so that we have the most accurate picture of what's going on, we have the best predictability. If you are contacting the help desk or us, please only contact one contact point at a time. It's very difficult when we pick up the phone and we start working your flight only to realize that one of our colleagues has received a request from one of your colleagues. We're working on the same thing. We're doubling up the requests for improvement. We're doubling up efforts to reroute or everything like that. And specifically for critical flights or when you ring us, if you have specific time limitations, your problem must be solved by a specific time. You can only depart up to a certain hour. Please indicate that in the text or in your call to us so that we're not working to improve you beyond what you need and potentially getting a negative answer, potentially having to go back to you and say, we can't improve you all the way to on time, when for you 30 minutes delay would let you go and would solve your problem. So the more information you come to us with up front, the quicker and easier it is for yourself and us. And again, use all the tools available to you that my colleagues are showing you and that we can show you outside. Slot swapping, indicate your critical flights. You can use the reroute proposals, you can get them yourself via the tools, or you can ask one of us for one via the e-Helpdesk. If you have specific criteria, you can type that in on the e-Helpdesk request and we will see that when we're looking at your reroute. While I'm here, just to address the question that we had about the diplomatic clearances being conflicting with some of these summer measures, this did come up for us a couple of times in flight planning in summer 25, and just to solidify the answer that was given, we can, if it is required, the best thing, we can usually in flight planning find, even if it's a bit weird, a reroute within the limitations of your diplomatic clearances. It may be difficult, the route may not be as pretty as it would otherwise, but it is, in every case that I had in summer 25, it was doable. So before we go to looking at exemptions or exclusions or anything like that, I would say contact either the AOLO or the flight planning desk and explain the situation, your very specific criteria, because there's often a lot that we can do by hand that you will not get by using the inputs in the system, because the system is looking at flights that already exist, using them as a basis, whereas we will literally do it by hand, point by point. So if you're really struggling, call AOLO or flight planning and we'll try to help. And everything you've already been told, the information hub is there, the headline news are there. Please read them, and if you do find a local disruption that we may not know about, we would appreciate a call and a heads up. And that is everything. Short enough, I think, Chris, for coffee?
Thank you, Phil. Thank you very much, Phil. So I think what Phil's done there is, first of all, he's explained the role of the AOLO, which I think some of you will be aware of already. Then went into a little bit more detail on the scenarios and on how best to deal with them from your perspective. So I think that's really useful stuff. And then an overview on the best practices as well. Some of them are repeated earlier on, but I think, and I will continue to reiterate as well, using the information hub is particularly important. And those of you that don't use it at the moment, please do access it, and the other issues that were mentioned there. So we've got just over 10 minutes before we break for coffee. There's no point in breaking early because the coffee ain't ready yet. So I've had the doors bolted and locked, so you ain't going nowhere. So use this opportunity. Does anybody have any questions for Phil or on anything that's been discussed so far this afternoon? Anything in the room? Yes, sir.
Hi, Andrea from Ita Airways. You mentioned that, sorry. You mentioned that it will be better in case we want to accept a rerouting to paste and copy and paste the exact routing with speed and flight levels. I guess it will be for some kind of monitoring, and the subsequent question will be, I'm not sure we will be able to do that. It will be feasible. Maybe during the operation it will not be feasible, but will it help if we just put the proposed routing in the flight management, accepted as it is, then we put in our flight planning system, and then if there are some changes, send a subsequent change to that? Just thinking out
loud. In general, when we send an RRP, the matching logic for the reply is such that it's looking for quite a close match between what we send and what we get back from you. In the case that we send you an RRP and it is outreg. It is entirely out of regulations and you will get no delay. Close enough is good enough. You are flying through airspace that is unregulated. I should have clarified this earlier. The important bit is when we're sending you an RRP and it includes a promised slot. We're saying if you file this route, you will get this slot allocated. And that's where matching as close as possible the one that we send you is important. Now, to be very clear, I am absolutely not suggesting, and nobody is suggesting, that you put one flight plan into us and a second one out to your crew. They need to be the same thing. The crew and ATC need the same thing at all times. And if it's not possible for you to do that, we may be able to propose you a different one matching your needs with maybe not the same, but a similar slot. So if you're having that problem and you say, oh, this is close enough, can you propose me what I can actually do? What slot would that get me? We can do that for you. The actual matching, sorry, one moment.
We're just waiting.
But yes, like I say, as close as possible to, and if not possible, contact us and we may be able to propose something more suitable.
Okay, so we just contact you like with the same media, via phone, via email, and then you will sending you what we can do, and then you will propose that thing.
The easiest way to do this would be initially calling us, because we do have an email address and the email address is published and on our cards and everything, but in the middle of summer, the email is not monitored in the same way that the help desk and the phone are. So if you're having this trouble, phone call is the best thing. And then if we need you to send us something, we'll say send an email and we'll look out for it. But that's it.
Does that answer your question, Andrea? Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Any other questions in the room? Yes, gentleman at the back.
Hi, Pascal with Volotea. I have a question regarding the e-Helpdesk. Just a problem that we've had, and I guess I'm not the only one. Once a flight is shown as airborne on Eurocontrol, we cannot modify the flight. It has happened more than once that we would have an aircraft returning to parking, and in summer, we need to update the slots as early as possible. And it looks like, it's my understanding that ATC is the one supposed to deactivate the flight in order for it to go back onto the system, in order for it to be updated. Is there any option that we could have the option ourselves to deactivate the flight on Eurocontrol?
Yeah, there is an e-Helpdesk request to deactivate your flight, but to give you as the AO the option to actually go in and deactivate a flight from our systems, no, because that would have all sorts of implications.
We can do it, but not once it's airborne. Once it's shown airborne, we cannot do anything.
Are you saying you're unable to send in the e-Helpdesk request?
We can send an e-Helpdesk request, and then it comes back as enable with commenting in the comments that it has to be done by ATC.
Okay, can we just I think, Nicola, can you address this one in your presentation after the coffee break? Is that something we can do?
Yeah, sure. We will cover this specific question and we will go close into details.
Just so that we keep all the help desk ones with Nicola, and that'll be okay. Andrea, is it related to this? Okay,
yes.
very quickly.
Just to confirm, you're saying airborne, not just departed from stand. Because if it's airborne, then you need an arrival message. So if it's actually taken off and flown, even though it's coming back to the original departure, it would need to be an arrival message. If it's an arrival message, then the ATC would be able to do that. If the ATC for any reason is not responding fast enough, once the aircraft is on the ground, landed, and you have the landing time, call flight planning and we can put an arrival message for you in the system. So this is for airborne flights, not flights that have just pushed from stand and then gone back from stand. They're two different solutions.
Okay, my example was more a flight that is shown as airborne, but did not take off.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. that's clear. Nicola will address it then, because we do have processes for that as well. But thank you very much, Andre, because that was also clear as well, and thank you. Anything else in the room? There's lots of hubbub here. I'm not sure it's because you're all saying I wish I could have a bloody cup of coffee, or whether you're all so stunned and fascinated by what's going on. It's been a long session, I know, but I think it's really useful. Chris, is there anything online? There's a couple? Okay, let's do those then.
Yep. Will it be visible how many critical flights we have without actually using one?
Sorry.
You'd like that too?
Same thing.
That is already possible today. Tomorrow, Natalia is going to go through the changes that came recently in the NMUI interface. So you have to have moved from CHMI NMP flight to the new NMUI flight, and that's where you can see your count of critical flights without actually asking for a critical flight. But as I said, Natalia will show that tomorrow during a presentation.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Okay, good stuff, thank you. Chris, a couple more? Yep, go on.
Yep. When receiving an RRP, is the RRP based on the trajectory data or EFPL or ICAO 2012, as in how precise is the trajectory information? It's a question from Lufthansa, and I'm getting out.
Andy? It's a good question, this one.
Yeah, the algorithm that we use is based on trajectory with some parameters. So it's not purely on the string of field 15, ICAO type field 15. It's time, it's vertical deviation as well as horizontal deviation. So even if you are submitting an EFPL with a trajectory, it will be able to match the trajectory with the trajectory that was created when the field 15. So it is that, and we are looking at a more intelligent way of matching the trajectories, looking potentially at airspaces penetrated or something. So there is work ongoing to improve that algorithm.
Thank you, Andy. Any other questions in the room? Did that inspire anybody? Thank you for that, Lufthansa. I think there's one more online, is that right?
Yep, from Austria, and this is critical.
Sorry, there's a gentleman at the back there. Yes, please. Hang on. Oh, don't make me run. Hang on.
Hello, Tristan from EasyJet. I just have a quick question. On our night shifts, we allow the scenarios to build up because we want the crews to have the most up-to-date information. And it's been a couple of times where you guys have called us and said, you know, you've got about 17 scenarios. What are you guys doing? And we just wanted to let you know that we wait a couple hours around midnight to do our scenarios. And is there time criticality on it of when you want us to do the scenarios? Do you want us to do them straight away on a night shift?
I'm not sure who was ringing you at midnight, because none of us are here at midnight.
Well, it was around 10 o'clock.
Okay. Yeah, but the AOLO position is open until 10 p.m. Belgian time, so that would be 9 for you guys. So.
Okay. But what I wanted to know is, with your network management, do you want us to do it earlier, or would you not mind us waiting to refile these scenarios?
The earlier the better for, as my colleagues were saying, predictability of the network.
Okay, I'll take that back. Yeah, we'll do them earlier then. Thank you.
I know we do sometimes I know some of my colleagues have told me that some of your colleagues specifically have said we like to wait until this time to do them, but I also do see, so we have a list of airlines in our heads who we know don't want to be told you're in a flight level scenario, please do something about it. We know you know, but we do see sometimes the flights going suspended. So sometimes we will send out a few just to maybe get somebody moved. Well, once 1 or 2 of your flights go suspended, I'll send a chunk of them to maybe say, okay, here's one you may have missed. So that may be related.
Okay, it's a good question though, Tristan. And as I say, we're not expecting you to change your procedures. If it works better for you to do it that way, then we can make that allowance. But we are staffed 24/7, so just for you to be aware, didn't want you to get the impression there wasn't anyone there. Okay, thank you. Very good question. Really good question so far. Is there anybody else who's got an urgent, dying wish to ask a question before we go for coffee? No, didn't think so. Okay. We still have a couple more, but first of all, thank you very much, Phil. Thank you, much appreciated. We still got a few more presentations there for after the coffee break, and we'll have a few more question and answer sessions. So that means that the what you need from us session may be a little bit truncated. Please have a think about what it is you need from us that you're not getting at the moment. And I don't mean therapy or anything like that. I mean, although maybe we could do that as well. But anything that that our systems don't offer you, that our procedures don't offer you, etc., because we do need to hear that. You will get an opportunity later today, and if you don't get your point across, please make sure it's written down, and we will do our best to address that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to take your seats for the last session of the day. First of all, thank you very much for, well, first of all, I hope you had a nice cup of coffee. And a bit of a chance to network a little bit. There'll be plenty more opportunities for that afterwards when we have our drink starting at around 5 o'clock. So we want to finish at about 5 o'clock sharp. Thank you also for the photograph. I think that's one of the biggest ones we've ever done. We always take the photographs on those stairs. It's the best place for it, but I don't think I've ever seen quite as many people packed into that space. So that's great. My knees don't think it was so great, but thank you very much for that. Okay, so we've got a couple more, a bit of overspill from the last session. We took the view that there was some good questions coming up. The feedback we've got from the break is that people were enjoying it and thought it was a nicely paced and nicely balanced presentation, so thank you for that. So we have two more presentations from our operational colleagues, so I'll introduce them shortly. You will have the chance after each of these presentations to ask questions, as we've done already. There are some questions online, and what we want to do is make sure that before 5 o'clock all of those questions are addressed, as well as any other ones that are generated in the next session. If we have time, then we will also ask for your input, as I said before, but don't worry if you don't get the chance to do that now, we will get a chance tomorrow to do that as well. So it's not that we're forgetting any of those things. We want your input, what you want in the future, what works, what doesn't, etc. So it's important to us. Okay, I'll stop now, and I'm going to hand over to Nicola, who's going to give his presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nikola Nedic, and I work in tactical operations as part of NMOC. I have only one slide for you today, because my presentation is more hands-on session with NMUI flight on usage of flow management e-Helpdesk, or in general the communication between NMOC and stakeholders with focus on aircraft operators. What I plan to cover during this session is really the NMUI flight with the focus on e-Helpdesk, while the full presentation, the further elaboration on NMUI flight will be provided tomorrow by my colleague Natalia. So what I plan to cover today is really to explain you how to use the NMUI flight in order to interact with NMOC. I'm sure many of you from here today are already doing so. The idea is to introduce and to provide the high-level overview of our e-Helpdesk service that is accessible via the NMUI flight, and also to provide some rules and guidelines on how to use it and when to use it. So when to contact us and how. We will also cover different request types that we have and explain each and every of them and show them on the NMUI flight application. And last but not least, one of the questions that we get most of the time are so-called critical flights. We will spend some time also on them. That's in brief what we plan to discuss today, and also there were two questions from before that we can come back to after the presentation. So I will just quickly open the NMUI flight application and show you just where you can access the e-Helpdesk from. So as said before, it's the main communication channel between NMOC and its stakeholders. When I say stakeholders, It is aircraft operators indeed, but also via the e-Helpdesk we communicate with towers and with FMPs, the flow managers. However, the majority of requests are actually received by, from the companies. 80% of exchange is actually between NMOC and airlines. The rest 20 are towers and FMPs. First of all, the main rule and what you can read in our manuals, the e-Helpdesk is to be used as a main communication channel between NMOC and externals. There is a telephone line, but this one is reserved for the business aviation and for the operators that do not have access to internet connection. So the main communication channel is e-Helpdesk, and majority of the requests should be sent via that mean of communication. Before going into details, I don't know if anybody wants to guess, but as I said before, all the requests are coming electronically to our system. But does anybody have idea on overall how many requests do we receive in an average summer day on the e-Helpdesk? Yeah, please.
Is anyone going to hazard a guess? 6,000. We have 6,000. Anybody raise me? We're going to start an auction here. 6,000 then. How about that?
No, you are quite close actually. It's 5,500 was last summer. 5,700 was peak last summer. So indeed, it's quite a lot of requests. Around 5,500 on an average summer day, with out of which are 80% are the companies. However, on our end, we don't have an army of people dealing with these requests. There is one specific position dedicated to deal with the helpdesk requests, and during the summer there are 2 people rostered for this position that are covering it. On top, these 2 people are supported by 3 others that are doing other different tasks on top. But if the workload and time permits, they try to assist to the helpdesk staff in order to process requests in a timely manner. In general, each and every request, let's say, I would say 80 or 90% of requests are processed within 1 minute, maximum 2 minutes. We won't take more time than that, because in last 5 to 6 years, it was quite a lot of invested from our management in evolving and advancing this service, as it is a main channel of communication that we have. But indeed, the message here is that we do receive quite a lot of requests, and we do not have army of people dealing with them. So we kindly ask you to use the e-Helpdesk really when you need help. Then to show you how to access it is via the NMUI flight. You can open your flight list, and you can just open any of the call signs where we can see here. So like the card of your flight, you will see this e-Helpdesk button that will open you the new window where you can actually send a request to the NMOC. Before that, we always ask you to inform yourself and to get a bit more idea of the delay. Usually you will contact us in case you have a delay, because majority of the requests are improvements of the slot. So you can see the delay here. We will also show you next to it average delay. At the moment, this is a test system, so we don't, this value is not calculated because it's not a live ops system. This button here is quite important. It's called regulation. So this is the cause of your delay. This is why you are having a delay. And I kindly advise you to use it and to check because it will give you more or less an answer what is the problem and why we have given a delay to your flight. So in this case, we created a dummy regulation called Flight Dispatcher Day with the reason of special event, and it lasts until 2300 today, maybe. But the intention is during summer you will see here, I don't know, weather in Brussels, and you will know that you are delayed due to weather. Why this is important? Sometimes we have equipment failures, strikes, or different types of specific types of regulations that will show you that there is a real problem in the network, and this is the reason of your delay. So it can give you already give you a nice indication of whether you can expect something that we can do for your flight or not. But it gives you further information on your delay without need to call us or to contact us for additional information. On top, once opening the e-Helpdesk, as we said, it will pop up with a new window where we will show you different types of requests that you can send to us. As we said, majority of the AO requests are actually indeed for CTOT improvements, where you can select different reasons to specifying why do you need an improvement due to crew times or maintaining the schedule, etc. This here is quite useful, and we kindly invite you to use it. It's a text field with a free text that you can write anything you want, but it gives us additional information about your request. It gives us the information of whatever any specific circumstances or anything you believe we need to know before processing your request. So it's always good to write something here. It doesn't hurt. We have a button called Earliest Take of Time. By filling this up, you can provide the time that we will not improve you before. So this will be an input to our system that will set this as a minimum take-off time for your flight. And normally, we won't improve you before this time. So that's why, because the reason of this functionality is in past, we improved flights, but they were not able to make the CTOT. So normally, we would receive an improvement, and that would be followed by an extension later on because we improved too much. So that's why this could be useful as well. Other things, extension, you know that on slot normally you have -5 + 10 of tolerance. You may ask for an extension once. Please note, this extension is not accepted automatically. The flow controllers from NMOC, we perform something called network impact assessment. So we will check the loads, we will check the downstream sectors of your flight, and we need to ensure that ATC is able to handle this traffic, because everything will be shifted by 10 minutes if we extend your slot. We always try and do our best to do the slot extension. None of my colleagues here likes to refuse these. In rarely cases, we may need to do so. And believe me, there is always a valid reason, because we know after a refused extension, we will receive an improvement request that will be with quite significant delay. Rerouting requests is something that my colleagues from AOLO position have already covered. Here, other and information. Focus is on other. We have had a question on deactivation of the flight. So there are two different types of deactivation. Flight can be shown as ATC activated in our system and is blocked for you to do any change, delay, or whatsoever, due to, let's say, wrong CPR that was picked up. In this case, you need to ask us, you need to send the request, and we will manually deactivate a flight. However, for CDM departures, and if the flight is on the ground, taxiing, it may need to be deactivated via the cancel DPI message sent by the CDM tower. So it can be one or another. The manual deactivation is done by the NMOC. The cancel DPI or any other DPI messages are not sent by NMOC. DPI messages are sent from the towers, from the airports in general. There was one more question. Yeah. Contacting the flight crew. So this happens quite, I wouldn't say often, but maybe once or twice per day. We are able to relay the message to your crew. Sometimes you can do it directly. In some cases, you cannot directly send it to the crew. And in this case, what we do, the NMOC will check where the flight is on the map. We will see in which ACC he is, and we will contact the relevant unit, and we will ask him to relay the message to you. And this is where our role ends. We cannot speak directly to the aircraft. We cannot speak to your crew. We just speak to the controller who is in charge of the flight. He takes over, and the message is relayed. That would be the request types. Then, critical flights. This is one that we discussed quite a lot with all the different stakeholders, because we often get questions from the companies and FMPs as well. So what is the critical flight? It is a flag on your e-Helpdesk request. It highlights the flight in our systems. It colors it in magenta or purple color, so it is indicated in our systems and in external systems as well. If a tower looks at the flight list, he will see this flight as purple or magenta color highlighted. What do we do with this? If we receive a critical flight within the NMOC, it's our role and our procedure is to do anything we can and do our best effort to improve these flights. So we will consider all the options. We will even directly talk to the ATC in charge or to the FMP responsible for the delay, and we will ask him if he can additionally take this flight as an extra. However, you need to understand that sometimes the answer is no. We do not always improve critical flights by default. We have our procedure that bind us to do our best and to go the extra mile to improve these flights, but sometimes simply is not possible. Clear examples are really heavy weather regulations or low rate regulations. Even sometimes we have zero rate regulations simply where the FMP doesn't want any traffic. In this case, critical flag will not help you. And here we come back on what we said in the beginning. Check what is the regulation and you will better know why do you have the delay, and you can immediately assess the possibility of being improved. Regarding the number, each company has certain number of critical flights, and this parameter is dynamic. It's calculated based on the number of regulated flights that you have. So the computer will take 5% of regulated traffic, and based on this value, it will determine a quota of critical flights you have. Meaning if you have 100 regulated flights, we will give you 5%, 5 critical flights. We always round up on the higher number, so we are fair, and we give you a bit more advantage here. Nobody has zero, so everybody has at least one, but also, in order to protect us from the extreme workload, the upper limit is capped on 20. So nobody has zero, but nobody has more than 20 either. So like this, we give the advantage to the smaller operators, that everybody will have at least one, but the big operators as well will not have more than 20. More or less, I would also like to show you one more thing, is from here, you can access the queue of the e-Helpdesk. For the moment is empty, but we can inject some requests, and the idea of this was actually to work it on the stand outside. So we can show you the full process. We have our internal system called ETFMS over there. We have an NMUI flight, and we can really show you end to end how it looks when the company sends a request, once it arrives to NMOC, and how we process it. Here is the queue that you can monitor, and here you would normally see your requests and its status and the text of the response. Last but not least, we have stands outside. It's my colleague Axel, Simon, and Levan. We are there. We are today and tomorrow for you. So please pass by with any questions or anything you would like to ask about in general flow management or NMOC or any specific situation. We will be happy to discuss it with you. So with regards to presentation, I would leave the floor to Chris and questions.
Okay, thank you. Just a slight admin update. I was not aware that there were actually a couple more presentations, so we're a little bit tighter on time than I thought. So please use the QR. I need new teeth, I apologize. QR codes. But if there is any emergency questions in the room, I'm more than happy for the e-Helpdesk at the moment. Anything for Nicola? No? Okay. So what I'm going to do is do it with a QR code. If we've got time at the end, we'll address them. If not, then we'll address them tomorrow, but they will be addressed. Okay, thank you. There is, Phil, you're looking at someone. Ah, thank you. Yes, please. No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
The e-Helpdesk, other requests, there is query competitors CTOT. How to use that?
In this specific type of request is designed in case you see the two flights in the same most penalizing regulation with a similar time of arrival in regulation, and you believe that there was unequal delay distribution, that you received that another airline has a bit more delay or less delay than you do, and you would like to know why.
This is just to know why, but it doesn't tell me the competitor's CTOT when I press that button or request this.
You can see all the CTOTs via the NMUI flight.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's, if you don't mind, let's move on. Oh, go on then, one more.
I already asked from the system, but I would like to ask again.
Okay.
Do you have any plan for increasing the number of critical flight selection? Because it should be followed by dynamically, in my opinion. For example, we had wildfire in our one of main bases, and most of our flight is critical, and we only limited to apply for 20 flights, which is not sufficient. For example, those cases can be increased the number to help the airline or operator to protect their operation for the next days. Otherwise, it will create a really conflict scenarios for us. It's really hard to recover the operation back. Do you have any dynamic follow-up suggestion? Maybe that's another solution. There is a limit on your system, and then which airline used how much the capacity, and you still have a capacity which airlines doesn't use, then those airlines can use those potentials. It's really important. All airlines may be agreed on me. Time to time, it differs from airline to airline. It depends on their geographical position or which they had disruptions in.
Okay, so to answer it from two parts. So normally, to understand the critical flight procedure from Eurocontrol perspective is quite a big compromise. It's a compromise between the companies, together with the FMPs and the NMOC staff, because companies are getting additional requests, additional capacity, while the FMPs would need to take extra flights, and the NMOC staff will be getting extra workload. To keep everybody happy in this group of actors, this was the procedure was designed, I think, 4 or 5 years ago, together with all the actors involved. So everybody was at the desk, and we came to this number of minimum 1, maximum 20, determined on 5% of critical flights. We do keep getting questions from companies to have more than 20, from FMPs to be able to reduce this value a bit, but for the moment, our ops manager is also, we are working together actually on one of the, reviews of this and seeing how we can adjust, or if we can better adjust it to have different numbers of critical flights, like in the morning or in the evening, or to have it more optimally spread these limits.
I think it would be a good idea to introduce Daniela, who is our operations manager, and this is one of the subjects that you've been looking at, Daniela.
Thank you, Chris and Nicola. Yes, so we, in NMOC, we acknowledge this request to increase the number of critical flights, and it is under investigation and evaluation, the possibility to increase the number of critical flights. There is a working group. Some system changes are requested. Unfortunately, they will not be available for this summer. So until these system changes will be possible, we cannot increase the number of critical flights, at least at this moment. I can't give you the good news. But indeed, as Nicola said, we made some we asked operational analysis to give us some data regarding the timestamp when we receive these critical flights, and we realized that in fact the amount of critical flights, it's mostly received in the last part of the day, so during the afternoon, and this makes also less chances to improve the critical flights. The only thing I would like to add in that, a part of what Nicola already mentioned, is that every single critical flight, according to the procedure we have in place now, it involves the coordination with all the FMPs that the flight is overflying. So you have to understand that there is quite high workload for our staff to do that, and it's not just the workload, but it's the workload on the other side, at the NSPs, at the FMP side, and this makes really difficult the improvement. So we are looking into that, and hopefully we will be able to offer something better for next year.
Sorry for that, but I have another objection on that. For example, okay, I accept your terms, you have to coordinate with all the FMPs, but maybe another way can be swap the CTOTs with another airline. If, for example, I have a problem in my home bases and my 10 aircraft is stuck somewhere, then the other airline, for example, TUIFly, and doesn't have any problem, Leon is looking at me, doesn't have any problem with if they depart 10 minutes or 15 minutes late. Maybe they will help me today, then next day I will help him. For that reason, we should dynamically follow up those kind of issues, in my opinion. Yeah.
Okay.
That
yes, slot swap is a standard request.
We don't have an agreement. Maybe network planning can support us and try to help us. I mean.
Okay. So we can take that offline, but that possibility already exists with slot swapping, but it can be refined. So we'll have a look at that. Okay. I'm just mindful of the time now that we have a little bit more of a constraint or so. As I say, I'm going to introduce Simon now from our colleague from the NMOC for the final part of that presentation, and then we will have our colleagues Sebastian and Eve who are going to give us further presentations. Make sure that if you have anything pressing that you want to ask, you do it via the QR code so that we can make sure it's logged, so that we can address it, and so that it doesn't get forgotten about. Thank you very much, and over to you, Simon.
Hello, everybody. Simon. I work in Flow, and I'm talking to you about the slot-related messages. So these are messages which you can send or which is being sent by the flow management system to you. To get some interactivity, how many slot-related messages do we have? Not 6,000 like mentioned before. Can somebody guess how many slot-related messages there are? No, not SRMs. That's one of the many. No, it's a bit easier. Yeah, types of messages. Okay. How many slot-related types of messages? Yeah.
How many slot-related types? How many message types do we have?
Yeah. 3 is the first number. 20 is too much. 16. Okay, so I'll be showing you 16 slot-related messages. And I'm going to distribute them between the ones that are being sent to you by the flow management system and the ones you are receiving. Sent by you, of course, not by the flow management system. You see 2 manuals indicated over there. That's where you get a full explanation of these in the user manual and in the ops manual. We'll start with the first one, slot missed message. This is a message you should be sending if you cannot make your slot time. So you have a window around the slot, -5 + 10. If you're not able to make that plus 10 minutes, so your flight is going to be delayed, and you do not know your new of blocks time, then we would like to have a slot missed message from you. What is the consequence? The CTO3 you had will be given to another flight, and you will be suspended. So you will get an FLS, and you will be suspended until we get an update, either from you, a delay message, or a change to IFPS, or a departure planning information from an airport CDM airport. Another question to you. How many of you are familiar with this one and are using it actually? I think we should start this presentation again then to emphasize the fact that this is an important message. What are you doing if you cannot make your off-blocks time? You are sending a delay message. Okay. What happens then? You send a delay, you get a new slot time. Suppose you cannot make that delay either. You ask for another slot time. What happens with the second slot time then? The chances are high that slot is going to be wasted. So bad for the network, but also bad for your return flight, which might go through the same regulation, or another company flight, which also tends to go through that regulation. So you're wasting slots by constantly delaying your flight. That's why this message is there, the slot missed message. You'll be suspended, okay, but if you constantly delay your flight until a certain moment, you know for sure what your off-blocks time will be. And it doesn't matter if you constantly delay or being suspended and then send the delay. The slot time in the end will be exactly the same. Okay? When you are sending a delay or you get a DPI from the airport, you are getting a SAM, a slot allocation message, when you are still regulated, or when you're not regulated, you get a desuspension message, a DES. Okay? Mind you that you had a slot before, you had a SAM before, you send the SMM, you'll be suspended, you update it, then you will still get a SAM, not an SRM. Because when the flight is suspended, your flight goes back to the initial status. You're back in the demand, as we call it. Okay? So you get a SAM. I'm now showing you on NMUI how this looks like. So I'm playing a video. So you see your flight is regulated. You already received the SAM. You have the delay up there. And you're going to send that slot missed message. Okay, you see the send SMM button, easy. You just click on the button, you get a confirmation that it's been sent. Et voila, you're okay. You refresh the screen, and you see that you are suspended. And you see that orange or yellow line that indicates in a flight list as well, easily, that there is a suspension. Now this is a suspension, one of 8 different reasons why you can be suspended. Okay? So important, if you get an FLS, that you know the reason why you are suspended. So for that, if you have an FLS, you look in the operational log, and you see your FLS message, also here indicated in pink, to attract your attention. And in every FLS, there is a comment field. And in this case, SMM received. Now, this is something new for you, because I didn't see anybody using SMM. So the comment SMM received is also something new for you. On the next Flight Dispatchers Day next year, I hope to see that many more of you are using the slot miss message. Okay? So we refresh it. And then, as instructed, you need to send the delay. And as mentioned before, it doesn't really matter if you constantly delay your flight. Of course, it matters for the network because you're wasting slots. But in the end, you know your new off-blocks time. You tell the system via delay message what the new slot, what the new off-blocks time is. Okay, again, you refresh your flight list. And you'll see in this case that there is a desuspension message. and the delay is 35 minutes, but it's a proposed, so the slot is not to be attributed yet. Okay? So lesson learned from the first message. SMM, please. Better for the network, better for you. Second, flight confirmation message. Don't worry, I will not be attacking you as much as with the SMM, with this FCM. Can be sent in 3 cases. RVR, so you can update your RVR in our system, or if you did not file a flight plan with RVR value, or if you did not put an RVR value in the flight plan, and you're going to an airport where there is a weather regulation for fog, and there's an RVR requirement, you will be suspended. And we want you to tell us what your RVR value is. Okay? So in that case, you can do it via a flight confirmation message. I'll show that again in a small video. There are still 2 strikes regulations in Europe, the Greek and Italian strikes, which are done by FCM mandatory. So we want you to confirm that you are still planning to operate your flight. And then mentioned before already, in case of scenarios, we have a delay threshold. Delay threshold with scenarios is 20 minutes. Or if there is a 0 rate, then we have a delay threshold of 180 minutes. And I can show you that as well. So first one based on an RVR. There you see the reason for the suspension. The RVR is unknown. So again, in the flight plan, there is no RVR value found. So you'll be suspended, and the FCM gives you the possibility to put that RVR value in the system. So 300 in this case. So we've now sent the confirmation, we refresh the screen, and we see indeed that the FCM is now being received. Have a look in the ops log how that looks like. So you see, let me just pause it. You see the FCM itself, incoming message, and then the details of the FCM you saw just before. Okay. Now this was an RVR of 300 meters, but you still see that the flight has quite a lot of delay. That is because the RVR criteria was lower than the 300 you filled in. If you would have sent an RVR of, let's say, 150, and the RVR requirement is 200 meters, then you would get a slot within the regulation. This case, 300 meters with the requirement of 200 meters, means that you'll be still at the end of the regulation. So suppose there was a regulation for fog from 6 till 8 o'clock in the morning. You send your 300 meters RVR, you get a slot to arrive there at 8 o'clock. If you send it 150 meters, then you will get a slot to arrive there between 6 and 8 o'clock. Okay? And don't try to cheat. Put your real RVR value in your flight plan, or in the FCM in this case. If the requirement is 200 meters and you can only land with 150, you can only make 300, and you put 150 in the FCM, what happens if you arrive over there? You probably have to divert. Okay? So don't try to cheat the system in this case. The next case was this is the same one. I sometimes have trouble to go to the next. Yeah, so this is to confirm a regulation. So again, you are suspended. You see the FLS. We go in the ops log to see the reason. And there we see the comment. As I mentioned before, the comment is the important part in the FLS. Always check your comment. It says that the aerodrome, airspace or point is not available. This actually means that either the airspace, the aerodrome or the point is closed. Point will not happen a lot, but aerodrome and airspace, they can be closed / not available. So you need to send an FCM to confirm that your flight is still taking off. You will always see in the FCM that the RVR value is empty. So you can always update or put the RVR value in there as well. Okay. You sent, and now you have confirmed that you still want to operate your flight in this zero rate regulation. You refresh again, and you see again that you have received a sum. Sorry, too quick. So you have received a sum, a slot allocation message, as mentioned before. You're going back to the initial state after a suspension. Okay? You will not get an SRM, but you get a sum. Okay, this doesn't work as I want to. Yeah, delay threshold. So when do we use delay threshold? With scenarios, that's 20 minutes, and with zero rates, 180 minutes. For that, you are being suspended as well. You see the FLS. And now, because of the delay threshold in the scenario or zero rate. Again, the ops log, check your comment. In this case, you get a provisional takeoff time, PTOT. So you have more delay than the delay threshold, 20 or 180 minutes. Then the system will propose you a new slot time, a provisional takeoff time, which you see up here. Together with the comment. So if you read that comment, suspended to delay exceeding the threshold value, send an FCM before the response by time in the FLS to secure your PTOT. You see the response by just 2 lines above. To secure the PTOT, so if you want to have that slot time, you need to confirm it via the FCM, or alternatively reroute in case of scenarios, or update the off-blocks time with a delay message. So the instructions are clear. The comment is an important field in the FLS. So you again confirm, again you can put the in the RVR if you want, not necessarily. Confirmation has been sent. I refresh. And you see the slot allocation message with the delay which you have accepted now. Okay, so FCM for RVR, zero rate regulations or delay threshold or strike regulations. So there were 2 messages. Next one is the RFI, request for direct improvement. Well, this is your default status in the system. Every flight, regulated or not, by default you are in request for direct improvement. So what does it say? Well, as the title already says, if there is an improvement for your flight, you will get a slot revision message. Okay. So that's a simple thing. There's a caveat for airport CDM departures. If you have been targeted, so your ground handler has set a target DPI, then it is not possible to change your ready status anymore. Another video. So here we have a flight which was already in SIP wanted status, so that's the other state your flight can be in, and you can see here how to send the RFI. So with SWM, you will get a SIP, but now you're changing your status to RFI. So you're telling the system, yes, if there is an improvement available, I would like to take it. Anybody any idea how often the system does that? How often does it look at your flights to improve? Every 5 minutes? Every minute, yes, that's it. So ETFMS is quite a heavy loaded system. Sorry. So it does every 1 minute, it goes through all the regulated flights and sees if there is improvement available in the regulations. Then the other message, the SIP wanted message. So we have a slot, but you do not want to be improved for whatever reason. Okay? You're happy with the slot. Then you need to indicate to the flow management system that you do not want to be improved. And in that case, you need to send a SIP wanted message. What does that in the system? Well, it changes your ready status into SIP wanted. The system will still try to improve you, but only when the delay is more than, the improvement is more than 15 minutes, it will send a slot improvement proposal. It proposes you that new slot time, which you can accept or reject. And again, with RFI, not when you are targeted at the CDM airport. Okay, how does that look? So you have a slot. Normally, you can send the SIP wanted message. You get the explanation that you will now get a SIP, slot improvement proposal, if there is an improvement. We refresh. So in its SIP wanted status. Now the system is thinking, okay, it finds a better slot time, so now it has sent a SIP to you. You see 2 new buttons up there, the blue buttons, accept or reject that new CTOT. So here we're first going to accept it, you confirm it. And to refresh, you'll see that you have, in this case, 0 minutes of delay, and the slot revision message has been sent. So you see the SRM with the new CTOT, that's the field in an SRM, but also look, you've changed your status into SIP wanted message, that is an incoming message into ETFMS. The system found an improvement, an outgoing message to you, a SIP, and when you accept, it's actually a SPA, a Sherapap Alpha, a slot proposal acceptance message. The system does the booking then for you. It sees, okay, there was a proposal, it's been matched, and that means you will get a new slot. Okay. Here you see the case when your flight has already received the target DPI at the CDM airport. If you then try to change your status, you will get this error message. And you see the reason there, because you are targeted. Okay? So that's why you cannot send an RFI or SWM. So the SPA has just been showing, so the slot improvement proposal accept. You accept that new CTOT in the proposal. The other one, when you get a SIP and you do not want to make use of it, we advise you to send an SRJ or to reject that new CTOT. Because what happens if you are receiving a SIP your flight is holding 2 slots at that time. And it will hold that slot for 15 minutes. So you're actually blocking somebody else's improvement because your flight is holding 2 slots. So if you cannot accept that SIP, please reject it as soon as possible to give that slot back to the network. And of course you will keep your original slot time. Also here a demo. You're in SWM, you get a SIP, and now you reject. Again, the block to show you what happens. You change your status to SWM. The SIP was sent out and you reject it via the SRGA. So via NMUI or NM Flight, you will have those buttons, but you see the format of the message over here. So if you're still sending slot-related messages to us in ADXP format, this is the format you need to adhere to. You can reject a slot proposal, but you can also reject a reroute proposal. And that's the RGT, rerouting rejection. Also there we have a new slot time proposed to you. Same principle applies over here. When you receive an RRP where there is a new CTOT, the system is again holding 2 slots for your flight. Okay. This one actually remains valid for 30 minutes because it gives you time to refile your flight plan. Again, same principle. If you know that you can make use of that proposal, then reject it as soon as possible because that new CTOT will be given to somebody else. And you will keep your original. Now, how to accept an RRP? Well, simply sending a change message to IFPS. Okay? There's no message in flow management to accept a reroute proposal. You need to send a change. Also here, quickly, how this works. So you got the RRP. There you have it. Reject the RRP and confirm it. There should actually be a thank you message over there for the network. And again, the format of the rerouting rejection. So these were the messages you can send to the flow management system. Now we'll go into the messages which you can receive from the flow management system. And first of all, the flight suspension. Here you are, 8 reasons why your flight can be suspended. You see the reasons up there and the comment. As I mentioned, the comment in an FLS is the important item. And it will tell you the reason why you are suspended, and therefore the action you need to take. And the action is in the last column. So you will get a desuspension message or a slot allocation message when you have done that action over there. Now I've already shown you the SMM. I will show you the FAM. I've shown you the FCM, I've shown you the RVR, I'll show you the flight plan as well, and the cancel DPI and delay thresholds. Okay, again, here we go for the flight activation monitoring. That's how it's called. There you see the comment again, not reported as airborne. So what does this actually do? Okay, let it run. Anybody any idea why you are being suspended over here? Not reported as airborne, it's called, but that's a bit vague. Yeah, go ahead.
So flight was delayed and no delay message by operator was received.
Correct, yeah. You did not update your blocks time, and 17 minutes after the estimated or calculated takeoff time, your flight will be suspended because of flight activation monitoring. Okay? This is actually the most common suspension reason. Flight plan suspension. It's a second reason. I could not make a video out of this, so that's why it's been fabricated like this. Again, you see the pink line where your flight is suspended, and here you see the comment, invalid route by IFPS revalidation. When you filed your flight plan, quite early, 12 hours before of blocks time, IFPS is going to recheck your flight plan every half an hour. If then something changed in our environment, before CDR closure, for example, your flight will be suspended with this comment. Okay? Then you need to update your flight plan accordingly. And you see the error just below, and that tells you the reason why this revalidation fails. Next one is the cancel DPI. So you're departing an airport CDM airport, and for whatever reason, the of blocks time or the target of blocks time is not valid anymore. Okay? You already taxied or whatever, any other reason. Come on. I'll just show you the ops log. Again, you're suspended. And this comment tells you that you are suspended because of the departure airport. The TOBT is unknown or expired. Okay. So what happens at the tower then? It cannot let you go because the slot time, for example, is already gone. It will send a cancel DPI to the system, which suspends you, and you need to take action accordingly. Now the action is either a delay message from you, or a DPI from the airport. And in this example, you see the FLS, a DPI came afterwards, and the result is that you are desuspended, because this flight is not regulated anymore. Then a manual suspension. This is a manual action from us in flow. And there can be all kinds of reasons, actually. There's no defined reasons why we suspend you. Diplomatic clearance, which we talked about before, can be a reason to suspend you. Also there, the FLS, you see the comment. And when it's a manual, we try to put free text in the comment itself to identify why your flight is suspended and which action you need to take. And in this case, it's to contact Norway. Okay, the other messages received by you, the desuspension, okay, shown before, when you're not suspended anymore, and there's no regulation for that flight anymore. When you are regulated, you get the slot allocation message. Just to show you that in the ops log. So there was an FLS because of FAM. You delay it, and the result is that you are desuspended. Okay, then the other slot-related messages. Well, the sum, I think we all know that. I hope. 2 hours before the blocks time, it's been sent to you. At the implementation of a regulation, so when we apply a regulation quite late, you might receive it less than 2 hours before the blocks time, or when you have sent the flight plan later than 2 hours. And it contains a CTOT. Here you are. This is in the ADXP format. You see the CTOT, and underneath the most penalizing regulation. Okay. On top, if you have more regulations, then there will be a second line or a third. SRM, okay. First you need to receive a sum before you can get an SRM. It's either an improvement or you get a worse slot, and it will contain the new CTOT which you need to adhere to. There we are, the new CTOT, and in this case 2 regulations. Which one is the most penalizing? So which one actually gives you the delay? Hello? Hey. Which one gives the most delay? The top one, yes, correct. Slot cancellation, okay, that's what's the message you would like to see, of course, as much as possible. CTOT not needed anymore. Either the regulation is cancelled or you cancel the flight plan. And when the off-blocks time is not valid anymore, so the off-blocks time is in the past, we put an extra comment to update the off-blocks time with a delay. And this is the most common one, slot cancellation, because you're out of reg. You're out of the regulation. The SIP, okay, already explained. We have a better CTOT for you. We keep the 2 slots during 15 minutes and accept or reject as soon as possible, please. You see the new CTOT and you see the response by time. So in this case it's 15 minutes. Ready. Sometimes we say on the help desk or when you give us a call, yeah, send a ready. Well, you cannot send a ready. Okay? It's only ATC who can send the ready to depart message. So the pilot actually needs to contact the tower, tell them that they are ready, and then the tower will send a ready message to the flow management system. Also tell your pilots that this can only be done 15 minutes before the off-blocks time. It's no use to send it half an hour before the off-blocks time, because the system will receive the ready message, but will not process it. And it does not keep it in mind either. So the pilot has to ask again 15 minutes before off-blocks. A knowledgeable tower controller will tell the pilot, you need to call me back 15 minutes before off-blocks time. Then you see min lineup. That's a field that the tower can implement in the ready message, and it will tell to the flow management system the taxi time. Okay? Not the default taxi time from the airport, but the actual one. If you look in your flight list, you have a shadow column, which is the ready status. And only when there is a Romeo, then the ready message has been accepted. DPIS is a sequence DPI, so the tower takes over the DPI instances. It sequences this flight, and when that is before the slot tolerance window, -5 + 10, so earlier than -5, you're automatically in ready status as well. And you also see an R in the shadow column. When you are in ready and you change your off-blocks time, then you go back to the status before, RFI or SWM. Here you are. So we received this one from Stansted. ZE, ZX might be the tower, the ready message, and the minimum lineup, 5 minutes in this case. RRP already explained before. So accepted by a change or rejected as soon as possible. And you see the content, the original route, the new route, the new CTOT. So the CTO2 of 13:59 and 12:40 will be reserved for you for 30 minutes. You see the purpose and the response by. Hold on, the last two, reroute notification. When you do an aircraft operator what-if reroute on an NM flight or NMUI, during that process you can get a reroute notification message. The same format as the RRP. And finally, the error. Okay, you've sent a message to eTFMS, cannot be processed. The system will send back an error message. But this is one which you will not find in the message column in the flight list, only in the operational log. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Simon. A very comprehensive and in-depth look at the messages. Now,
can you mention them all 16 again?
There were 16 of them, 16 messages. Was that 16 that they can set? I can't remember now. Is it 16 that they can set or 16 in total? I can't remember.
Total, yeah.
Total. There you go. Good. And Simon went through them all there. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I certainly learned a lot. It reminded me an awful lot of what I'd forgotten. So we are quite tight on time now. My two colleagues, Sebastian and Eva, very kindly decided that they're available tomorrow morning. So they're going to shift their presentations till tomorrow morning, which I think is very good of them. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. But it does leave us a couple of minutes if there's any emergency questions or pressing questions for Simon here. I think it's a very interesting subject and one that deserves a few minutes. Obviously, if you don't get a chance to raise your question now, then we'll make sure it's in the QR code so that we will do that. So I'm going to give it about 5 or 6 minutes before we wrap up. Gentleman there, yes, please.
Yes, Simon, one question. Delay threshold. Sorry, but I don't get it exactly. Just to make sure that that I know what it means. Does it mean that after off-block time that you cannot reach a threshold with your flight within the CTOT, or what is it exactly? Because you also receive flight suspension for not airborne. So please delight me. I never had it in my career. I mean, I'm in the business now for a really long time, but I cannot remember that I ever saw it.
Delay threshold is something we use within the regulation. With scenarios, we put a delay threshold of 20 minutes. So that means if you are affected by that scenario, rerouting, level cap, or RN, the new one, and your delay is more than 20 minutes, so we're pushing you at the end of the regulation. If your delay is then more than 20 minutes, you will be suspended. With the consequence as I just explained. If you have less than 20 minutes of delay in a scenario, you will get a slot allocation message. Because we assume that less than 20 minutes of delay, you're not going to reroute or change your flight plan because of that. So that's the case with scenarios. If we talk about strike regulations, zero rate regulations, we put a delay threshold of 180 minutes, so 3 hours. If you have more than 3 hours of delay, we assume actually that your flight is not going to operate anymore. So we suspend you, we kick you out of the system, more or less. Then you need to confirm if you still want to operate. But then you are taking that 3 hours of delay.
Okay.
So that's the purpose of delay threshold, to tell us, are you going to operate, yes or no? That's more or less it.
Okay, thank you, Simon. Is that clear? Does that help?
Not really.
Can I just say something, Chris, please? Because I got a feeling it's something about terminology. We're not talking about the threshold of the runway. This is, but seriously, that's when we're talking about the FAM suspension. It's about the threshold of allowed ATFCM delay before you have to take an action. So the threshold of delay allowed could be 20 minutes. If you only have 15 minutes, you don't have to take an action. If you're above the allowed threshold of delay of 20 minutes, so if you have a delay of 25 minutes, you need to take an action. So it's terminology of threshold, I think, was confusing.
Okay, thank you for that, Andy. It is a complex one, but is there any follow-up on that? Are you okay with that? Okay, thank you. And of course, if you have any further questions, our experts outside will help as well. But thank you for that, and thank you for the answer. Any other questions in the room at the moment? Yes, sir.
In case of when we are sending slot missed message, and after we are sending the delay of the flight plan, the status in that case should be like late updater, because I see in the status in the presentation it shows that slot allocated. I don't believe that it will be slot allocated.
The demo was just not according reality.
But well observed. Thank you for that. Yes, sir, Andrea.
Yeah, actually, one of the few who are using slot message, and maybe only one in the company. I just want to ask you whether, if I'm using the slot message, if I have a better chances to get improvement. The reason why am I asking, because I think I understand why everybody is constantly just delaying the flight plan, but if there is any privileges, so when I'm using the slot message, I could explain this to our sales department.
That's a very good question. Okay, Simon, can you help us?
No.
Please don't tell this to our sales.
Maybe you heard me during the presentation saying that there should actually be a thank you instead of confirmation that you've sent it. Okay? So a thank you instead of just a comment would be better. But no, we do not. No.
Okay, thank you. I think that's as clear as it possibly can be. Okay, any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah. I want to ask about slot improvement wanted message. I heard that you said that all improvements exceeding 15 minutes will be proposed. What about less than 15 minutes? For example, I received CTOT. I'm good with that CTOT, but as an operator, I calculated the CTOT plus 10 minutes. And when, for example, if I will automatically receive the improvement, even 10 minutes, maybe I will miss this new CTOT, even 10 minutes, and then I will receive another one, for example, 2 hours.
The beginning of your question, the answer is no, because the SIP will only look at improvements of more than 15 minutes. Because you already indicated to the system, no, I do not want to be improved. That's why I send a SIP wanted message. And then it will not be taken into account every minute to look at flights. Okay? So only when more than 15 minutes of improvement is available. So if you, in your example, can take 10 minutes, then you need to change your SIP wanted status and send it back to RFI. And then you'll be part again of that process to improve flights.
Understood, thank you. Could I ask one additional question, general question about takeoff tolerance window? Why I'm asking, because we had some incidents with our ATC guys. I'm speaking about not regulated flights, flight that is out of regulations, and we have some cases when pilots asked for pushback, for example, minus 15 minutes, and they were advised by ATC that it's not possible and you need to depart at your like takeoff time, EOBT plus, etc. Yeah. So I just want to understand, because I didn't find anywhere about takeoff tolerance window, not regulated flights. Could you please advise on this?
So indeed, slots minus 5 plus 10. If you don't have a slot, minus 15 plus 15 around the estimated of blocks time. Okay. So
yeah, thank you. And one, one more detail. For example, we are off blocking minus 15 minutes, and in this case, can we depart? For example, in 5 minutes, we are closer to runway. I don't know. For example, it will be EOBT minus 10 minutes actual departure time, takeoff time. Is it a problem or not?
The issue in the system then is that every airport has a default taxi time. And if you have a big airport, it might be 15 minutes. But if you're closer to the gate, then it might only take you 5 minutes to get off blocks or to the runway. What am I selling, actually? What was the question again? Sorry.
Question, yeah, I will repeat. Question is that, okay, I as an operator, I allowed to off block like minus 15 minutes. In my airport, taxi time is 15 minutes, and ATC advised that your off block time, we need to plus 15 minutes. But if I'm closer to the runway, it will take 5 minutes. I cannot, like,
Well, the tower
say
needs to see
the,
as well.
to the ATC that it's normal to depart like minus 10 minutes from EOBT. Like I have this issue with my ATC. So.
You need to send your ATC over here to get an explanation.
Exactly.
It's
the discretion of ATC in that particular case.
Yeah.
As, you're absolutely right in what you say, understood, but it is an ATC constraint there. Listen, it's now 17:01. I think it's been a long day, but I think it's been a very fruitful day. So what I'm going to do is, Chris has just told me there's over 30, 35 questions in the QR, so you guys have all been busy. What we're going to do is we're going to address those tomorrow. We will make sure, and of course, we've got a networking drink now, and there's a possibility to talk to our experts, so some of those questions may be answered there. So we're not going to forget the questions, but I think it's important that we get a chance to relax now, chill, as I believe the young folk call it, and of which, of course, I am one. So what I'm going to do very quickly is I'm just going to recap. I think we've had an awful lot of information today. Some really useful stuff. What I think particularly is good is that we've been able to use the NMUI flight application so that you can actually see how things work in real life. And you have seen from Simon's presentation, from Nicola's presentation, from some of the others, actually how to do stuff. So I think that's really, really useful. And certainly the feedback we've had is that people like that. The takeaways that I've got here is that what we're looking for here, what we need from you to enable us to help you is to use those tools, to be proactive. There are a lot of tools there that can really help you. So it's a case of acting early. So if you know you're going to get a reroute, if you can see that you're going to be asked to reroute, do the reroute before you get the suspension. It helps you to help us, and everybody then contributes to a much more stable network and overall delay reduction. I'm not telling you what to do. I know it's difficult. I know when you're in a busy summer situation, it's very difficult. But really, that's what I'd like to take away from today. Be proactive and use those tools.